to me, baby, put your ego aside. Don't fight your feelings, cause you lose every time. You know I know better, I figured you out. What you're about. Your feelings, cause you lose every time. You know I know better, I figured you out. What you about.
What is up, chat? How's everyone's day going? Hi, BTU. What the fuck does that mean? What does BTU mean? What does BTU mean? Yeah, that's definitely not what you're talking about. Okay, we're doing a reaction day today. Bald Twinkie Man. Great, thanks. Can you give me one nice comment, Pirate, please? Like, every single time I go live, 12 seconds in, he's already on bullshit. Yo, fuck this guy. We're doing a reaction stream today. I got 5 videos already prepped. I prepped them before the stream this time. Because I'm tired of looking for them on stream. But we got some fucking bangers in here. You were cuter with the beanie on. Great. Thanks for that. Fuck you. Like, actually, fuck you. Actually, fuck you. This guy never lets me not be humble. He's such an asshole. It's at least... That is... In what world is that? Okay, fuck you. I'm getting distracted. Fuck off. I haven't been live the past few days. I've been a little preoccupied. But, we're switching up the upload schedule because I'm realizing I'm biting off more than I can chew. So we're going to be prioritizing the streaming instead of uploading because streaming is more important than uploading. I've been doing, like, as many YouTube videos as possible and as many TikToks as possible. But then I end up accidentally focusing on one or the other. And then the other one depletes, and it's just like, it's just an infinite cycle. So we're going to do 1 YouTube video a week and 2 TikToks a day, because that seems like the most sustainable upload schedule for me. And then we're going to be prioritizing streaming. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. But we're doing a reaction today. We have 5 bangers set up. I'll actually show you guys right now. I do need to plug in my stream deck first, though. If you want compliment, pat your hair down. If you want to still be able to comment in my chat, shut the fuck up. I have power over you, Pirate. I will time you out. Let me plug in my stream deck. Let me show you guys the videos that I got. They seem pretty good. We actually have one that's like purposefully bad just so we can make fun of it. That's the first video. But we got 3 true summer vacation horror stories animated. The Indian Genius Nobody Understands, Missing Children Who Turned Up Alive After Years, The Most Dangerous Female Spy in History, and then These Nerdy Students Took Vegas for Millions. These look like some fucking bangers today. No, you don't, and no, you won't. I'm the only person that's always here. Okay, I promise I will time you out if you keep being on bullshit every single fucking stream, Pirate. Fuck this guy. I don't think he's ever said anything nice in my chat before. I would bet money on it. This guy's always hating. I'm not subscribed to this guy? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, they collabed for this one. This video is gonna be a banger. You love it. I promise I don't. I promise I don't. Alright, first video of the night. Let's get started. 3 true summer vacation horror stories animated. This one's 19 minutes long. I'm your favorite viewer. You're not my favorite, you're just the only one. So you're favorite by default, not by opinion. Okay, get that shit straight. I'm gonna start this video. Lock in.
When we got close, the driver's window rolled down. We asked if the man in the driver's seat had a jack. He nodded silently, pointed to the trunk, and then motioned for us to wait while he edged the car forward a little to give us space. The sedan started backing up toward us slowly. He opened the trunk. Right as Harmony grabbed the jack, the rear door flew open, and a woman fell out onto the
Oh my god, we're 30 seconds in, bro.
gravel, as if someone had shoved her. The car hit the gas and vanished instantly before we could even blink. The woman was in rough shape. One side of her face was swollen. She had rope burns on her wrists, and she was barely conscious. Harmony, who'd already taken some emergency care classes, immediately knelt down and checked for a pulse.
I can't find a pulse. Oh my god, Joel, what do we do?
Okay, yo, we're deadass 1 minute in. Like, yo, lead up to this a little bit.
She sobbed. I was horrified. My blood had run cold. Just a few moments earlier, we were so happy. Harmony and I were on the back roads to our friend Becca's farmhouse in rural Tennessee to spend our summer vacation together. We were both 19, done with our first year of community college, and we'd been looking forward to this trip all semester. She was in the driver's seat of her Civic, with a playlist she'd been building since April. I was half asleep in the passenger seat when she tapped my arm.
Don't look now. That car has taken every turn we've taken for the last 15 minutes.
I checked the rearview mirror and saw a black sedan a few car lengths behind us, keeping pace.
Probably just a coincidence.
Okay, like, why didn't you tell this part of the story beforehand?
You know how the roads are out here.
I shrugged. Harmony nodded and kept driving, but I kept my eyes on the rearview mirror. When we hit Route 70, she took the cutoff onto Catholic Creek Road instead of staying on the main highway. It's a narrower stretch that runs through the woods and shaves about 25 minutes off the drive, but it was pretty isolated. Nobody used that road unless they knew their way around. The sedan took the turn right behind us. Neither of us said anything for a moment.
Okay, that's definitely not a coincidence. We are being followed.
I told her I was calling 911, but
Just
before I
absolutely thrilling voice acting we got here.
could even get through to the dispatcher, the sedan floored it and whipped past us. As it went by, I looked at the driver and saw a pale, middle-aged guy, still as a statue, staring straight ahead. His eyes flickered over to me for a split second before the car disappeared around a bend. We laughed it off, trying to shake the weird feeling. About 5 minutes later, our front right tire blew. Harmony pulled over onto the gravel shoulder. We could see shredded glass on the road. Both of our phones had 0 bars, and the sun was going down fast.
Hey, look!
Harmony pointed. The black sedan was parked up the road, maybe 200 feet ahead, on the same
What the fuck? Okay, wait, so you... so they followed you, your tire pops, and after they've been following you for that long, you decide to ask them for help? Where is your fucking thought process here? This is terrible.
We sat in the car arguing about what to do.
We can't just wait here until it's dark.
I snapped.
You
I beg to differ.
have the taser, right?
She nodded and
Oh shit, okay, no. You know what? Go ahead.
grabbed it. We got out and walked up to the sedan. And now, here we were, in the middle of nowhere with a dead body. We started arguing about what to do. It was a remote spot, and if any local found a body next to a car with a flat tire, we'd instantly look like the killers. We were literally trapped next to the evidence, panicking that the
Okay. Bitch, traffic cameras. Like, You weren't the only car on that road.
Police would suspect us of a crime we hadn't committed. We hid the body in our trunk before fixing the tire.
Are we you made yourself look more guilty. Oh my gosh, these guys have the fucking survival instincts of a squirrel.
Once we were done, Harmony drove like a maniac. About 10 minutes in, we spotted that same black sedan at a really dusty, super old gas station. It only had one rusted out pump and a tiny, dim cafe attached. I squinted and could see the car was vacant. We figured they must be inside. As we slowly pulled into the lot, I quickly scanned the outside of the building, but couldn't find any CCTV cameras.
Let's move her back. Quick!
We hurriedly got her out and lifted the trunk lid, but before we could move her, she coughed and gasped away.
Some fucking classes you're taking. I thought you couldn't find a pulse, bitch.
We froze. The woman sat up coughing. She told us her husband and his friend had tried to murder her to hide her husband's affair. I could barely understand a word she was saying.
Gosh, girl, give me a second. I'll ring 911.
Harmony responded. She begged us not to.
I'm really fine. I want to take my revenge by myself.
Yo, who do you think you are?
I watched her walk back to the black sedan. She turned, smiled weakly at us, and got in.
Wait. Ow! Okay.
Harmony and I exchanged uncertain looks. Eventually, we got back in our car and drove the rest of the way to Becca's, but we could barely sleep. The next morning, a local news alert popped up on Becca's phone. It said the black sedan had crashed the night before, wrapping itself around a utility pole on a county road about 14 miles from the gas station. Both guys in the front seat were dead. The preliminary
I'm sorry I disrespected you. You know what? Yeah, clock your shit.
reports said the car had been going well over 100 miles per hour when it wrecked. A line in the article stated that the medical examiner had confirmed a third victim in the back seat. It was a woman. But based on her body temperature and other indicators, she had been dead for over 12 hours before the accident. I looked at Harmony, sitting across from
The fuck?
me at Becca's kitchen table. She had gone pale. The woman we had driven around with for 15 minutes, the one who'd held my wrist and begged me not to call the cops, had been dead since before we even found her. We finally gave a statement to the county sheriff 2 days later. The deputy who took our story wrote everything down. The investigation into the two dead men wrapped up a few weeks later. I still drive through rural Tennessee sometimes when I visit Becca. I always take the main highway now, and I always slow down to look whenever I see a car pulled over on the shoulder. I have no idea why. Logically, there's no way looking will ever help anything, but I can't help myself.
So we're just, oh my fucking god, I hate you. God, I hate you. I need YouTube Premium. We're just talking to dead people? What, this? No, they're insane. They're insane.
Figuring the door was busted, I pushed it 3 more times. Suddenly, the door flew open, and George appeared.
Okay, like, why are you starting with the falling action? I don't understand. What is this, like, I'm gonna skip this part. I don't want to know what happens. Where does it start?
And told the kids that going anywhere bored as and when Rick would got her arm side and someone and he never let her out of his sight. If Sandra was outside,
okay, like I don't know when it starts though. Like you started with the main part of the story.
And locked the door behind us. I remembered the day our neighbors George.
Okay, so I think it's here.
George and
Like
Sandra
what is
Helper
this like
moved
way?
on to Darren.
I knew this video was gonna be bad, and that's why I watched it. But I didn't think they would put like the main part of the story at the start.
Street. The guy was super quiet, always shot dirty looks at us kids, and never talked to anyone. When my mom went to greet them with welcome to
Nope. Yeah, so fuck that.
the neighborhood cookies, he yelled at his wife, Sandra, just for opening the door. After that, the blinds were always drawn, and he never let her out of his sight. If Sandra was outside and someone tried to chat her up, George would pop up instantly, grab her arm, and march her back inside. Our neighbor, Mrs. Winson,
Will Byers?
called it controlling. Mom said it was concerning. All the parents on the block would gossip about him and told the kids that going anywhere near their house was strictly forbidden. I obliged, except for that one summer vacation. It was a Saturday evening, and I was bored out of my wits. My best friend Danny was stuck in Florida at his grandparents', and my older brother was busy working at the pool and wanted nothing to do with me.
So you go talk to the creepy couple across the street. Okay.
I'd already biked to the gas station and back so often it wasn't even fun anymore. So I decided to play Ding Dong Ditch. I laced up my
And you chose the Psycho house.
kicks and headed out, scanning the block for a perfect target. I somehow ended up on the street across from the Halperns, and in my 11-year-old brain, hitting the scariest house on the street felt like the ultimate flex. I figured it was time to test my luck. I tiptoed onto the porch and smashed the doorbell before I sprinted away and ducked behind a bush. I waited, maybe 5 minutes, but nothing happened. And then, about 15 minutes later, I was inside their home, facing
Like, what?
the weird married duo. Sandra was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of lemonade. When she spotted me, she gave me this massive ear-to-ear grin and asked how I was doing. Good? I managed to stammer out.
Here, have some lemonade.
Up close,
Fentanyl!
she was actually pretty, with dark eyes that crinkled at the corners when she laughed. She started chatting me up about
Yeah, I think Momo looks pretty hot too.
school and my summer plans, even cracking a joke that was actually pretty funny. Meanwhile, George simply stood in the corner with his arms crossed, watching her without saying a single word, like some prisoner. Do you mind if I use the bathroom?
Sure thing. Just head down the hallway. It's the second door.
Sandra said, pointing the way. I nodded and headed that way, but I was so busy looking over my shoulder to see where George was that I ended up opening the wrong door. The smell hit me first. It was thick and waxy, with this gross, rotten scent underneath, like someone had left candles burning over raw meat. The room was pitch
Oh shit!
black, except for maybe 30 candles set up in a big circle on the floor. Right
Oh my god, it's the man. Yo, what the?
in the middle was a man-sized doll, though only about 2 feet tall, made out of fabric. What
So, not a man-sized doll.
looked like real hair and some other stuff I couldn't identify from where I was standing. Ceramic bowls were placed all around it. I stepped a bit closer and nearly pissed my pants. The bowls were filled with animal bones, some dark, crusty stuff that looked a lot like dried blood, and rows of baby teeth in
Yo, this is fucking crazy.
different shapes and sizes. The floor was covered in symbols, painted with incredibly steady strokes, a whole grid of them stretched from wall to wall. The doll was clearly meant to be a man. It was even wearing a tiny version of the same gray button-up George was always in. I yelped and turned around to bolt, only to
How credible do we think these stories are? This is insane. There's no way. And he made it out alive? Right.
come face to face with Sandra, who was still grinning.
Guess little Lucas doesn't watch where he's going, huh?
She giggled, dragging her index finger from my temple
What the hell? Oh, this is so weird.
down to my cheek. Sweat glistened on my palms, and my heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. I tried to back away, but she moved closer.
You see, George was my high school crush forever. But he only had eyes for my best friend. I had to figure out a way to fix that.
I glanced back down the hall. George was still standing down there, watching us. His expression hadn't changed, and his eyes were as hollow as if he were a corpse dragging his body around. Suddenly,
So she's the psychopath in this situation. But like, he was the one dragging her into the house. I'm so, like, what is this relationship?
Sandra grabbed my shirt and pulled
Oh.
me closer.
If you tell anyone about this room, I'm going to make you love me too.
I booked it
What the yo? He's 11, ma'am.
home and told my mom I'd been hanging out at Danny's.
Let me guess. The bitch didn't believe you.
I sat through dinner that night and answered questions about my day, but I didn't breathe a word about what I'd seen. I was
Oh, you actually didn't tell anyone. I don't.
only 11.
I probably would have told him anyways.
But I wasn't stupid. I knew if I told my parents, they'd call the cops and maybe Sandra would get in trouble, but I didn't think anyone could actually stop her. I steered clear of Derringer Street for the rest of the summer. One time, when I was riding by, I caught a glimpse of George standing on the porch like a statue in that same gray shirt. He still looked furious, but now I knew the nightmare he was living every single day. We ended up moving a couple of years later, and I never laid eyes on either of them again. I've thought about it a lot since I grew up. Whatever was going on in that room and whatever Sandra thought she was doing, it worked. George never left. In those 2 years of watching them across the street, he never once looked like he wanted to go anywhere. And she never looked like she was breaking a sweat over it.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. I mean, I don't believe in like, you know, like rituals and shit like that, but if he believes it, like he might get tricked into actually succumbing to whatever fucking crazy ass ritual she's doing. But I don't think it's real. It's just like a placebo, but it clearly worked on the guy. Did you say... Okay, so Pirate just came in, insulted me, and then left. What a guy. What a guy.
Jacksonville, Florida was my mom's hometown. And even though she'd moved up to New York with my dad decades ago, we still headed back every summer to kick back and reconnect with our roots. It was the first week of summer break. My two best friends, Mark and Lyle, and I were chilling by the waters. The beach was totally packed that day. It was peak tourist season, so there were families, umbrellas, and little kids running around everywhere. We were hanging out by the water when we noticed this middle-aged guy moving frantically through the crowd, practically screaming "Pamela" at the top of his lungs. Everyone was watching him, and people were moving out of his way. "The dude looks like he's about to pass out," Mark said. I agreed. He looked like he was about to cry, and he kept spinning around, checking faces and looking everywhere at the same time. I finally stood up and told the guys I was going to go ask what was up. Mark tagged along. We caught up to him, right by the lifeguard stand. The second he saw us approach, he grabbed my arm and told us his 7-year-old daughter was missing. I was lying on the sand, and I got a call. When I turned around, she was gone. I asked if he had a picture, but he said his phone was dead. He could only give us a description. She has dark brown hair, is wearing a pink swimsuit, and is 7 years old. Her name is Pamela. He begged us to help look while he waited near the security shack in case she came back there. It seemed logical. We split up. Mark went left toward the pier. Lyle went right toward the parking lot, and I walked farther down the shoreline away from all the main crowds. I searched for a while, scanning faces and looking for a little girl in pink. The farther I walked from the crowds, the quieter it got. Soon, families started to thin out.
I see her! Oh shit, the face cam. I see her!
And the noise died down. Suddenly, my eyes fell on a small figure curled into a ball under a palm tree about 30 feet ahead. The girl looked about 7 years old and matched the description, and she was sobbing. Sighing in relief, I walked over, crouched down, and told her I was looking for her and that her dad was waiting at the security shack. She stiffened, still hiccuping. She stared at me in horror and started shaking her head violently.
My dad is dead.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of supernatural shit is going on in these stories, bro?
What?
So we got the first person, or the first story, it was a dead woman that supposedly murdered the two people who hurt her. but she was a ghost, I guess. And then the second one, there's some fucking witch ritual. And then this one, her dad doesn't even
She had
exist.
come to the beach with her mother that morning when a tall man had approached her while her mother wasn't watching and offered her chocolate. She
Oh,
was lured
shit.
away from the crowd.
He took me to the cottage and tried doing bad things.
Alright, bro. This is insane.
She said she managed to run away and found this spot under the tree. She hasn't moved since because she was too scared and couldn't find her mother. Everything
So she wanted them to find her, or he wanted them to find her so that he can still take her.
rearranged in my head at once. Disgust churned in my stomach. I was furious, horrified, and disgusted at the same time. I reassured the girl that she was safe with me before I hurriedly grabbed my phone and called Mark. I told him to get Lyle and bring security to the shack immediately. Don't leave that monster alone. God knows whose daughter he'd try and ruin next. The girl had calmed down a bit. I told her we were going to find her mom. She walked at least a few feet away from me and looked ready to bolt. I took her back toward the main crowd and kept scanning for her mother. Suddenly, a commotion broke out somewhere to the left. People were shouting, and a crowd was forming near the security shack. When we got there, 3 security guards
Hell
had the
yeah.
man pinned on the sand. He was screaming that he only wanted to play with the little girl and that we had misunderstood. A woman burst through the crowd and grabbed Pamela so hard she almost knocked her over. The girl started crying into her shoulder. Her mother was shaking and crying too, and couldn't stop thanking everyone around her. Police arrived and took him away in handcuffs. I gave a statement and told them everything. The officer wrote it all down and said the setup was a usual trick that child predators often used. They'd use other people to bring them the victim, so it would be less suspicious and faster. Hearing that made me feel so sick that I couldn't shake it for weeks. Mark and Lyle met me afterward. We didn't talk much on the drive home. I think all 3 of us were running the same calculation, how close we came to just handing her over. If she hadn't told me about her dad being dead in time, and if she just said yes when I mentioned the security shack, and if she'd been a little younger or a little more trusting, we would have walked her right back to him. He would have thanked us, and she would have been gone before we even made it back to our towels. It has been nearly half a decade. I still go to the beach in the summer, but I think about that day every time I'm there, and about how ordinary he looked, and how convincing his fear was, and how natural it felt to want to help a desperate father. He used our instinct to do good as a weapon against us. We're raised to be the good guys, to have a heart from childhood, but we've never been taught that the monsters...
Yeah, you can't really ever tell when a narcissist is a narcissist. Except for the eyes. In the eye. You can tell. It's in the eyes. Dude, they just don't have any fucking, like, emotion. But, like, they can easily fake an emotion with the rest of their face, but it's the eyes. It's the eyes, Chico. Like, you can definitely tell. They just look so fucking lifeless. Like psychopaths. No. I'm skipping that video because it was fucking terrible. The Indian Genius Nobody Understands. This one's 32 minutes long. Lock in.
A strange letter arrives at the home of Godfrey Harold Hardy, a math...
Why is it so hot? How hot is it outside right now? I think it's because I got a fan in the window. Oh! Give me a second. Hold on. All right, we're good.
mathematician in Cambridge. It's from a young man in India. He says he's poor, never went to university, but he's written down some formulas, and he's asking for feedback. Some of these formulas are the most groundbreaking pieces of math Hardy has ever seen, complex equations that even the world's top mathematicians could spend pages trying to unpack. the kind of work only a true genius could produce. A genius unlike any other. A poor boy from India obsessively writing down formulas, convinced they are messages from the gods. Someone whose religious beliefs will clash with the world around him. A man shadowed by death at every turn. A mathematician whose creative genius likely doesn't stem from formal academic education, but from the lack of it. Even today, to many, his mysterious formulas remain beyond full understanding.
Alright, so it might be a little bit hard to talk to this one, because there's no way I'm going to understand a single math equation that is shown to me here.
This is the story of someone who might have won the world's highest honors, if only things had gone differently. This is the tragic
Was that a jail cell? What the hell could have happened?
story of one of the greatest minds in history, Srinivasa Ramanujan, also known as the man who knew infinity.
Oh.
I built this website in 5
Oh
minutes
my
with
god!
so I came
Fuck
across-
you. Fuck you.
This video is largely based on the book, The Man Who Knew Infinity, by Robert Kanigel. And a quick heads up before we begin. In this episode, we'll mention depression and attempted suicide. If you don't feel well, don't be shy to get help. Ramanujan
God, I love Fern so much. I think I'm subscribed. I better be subscribed to him. He's so good.
grows up in a respected family. They belong to the Brahmins, the highest caste in India. The caste system plays a central role in Indian society. Rooted in Hinduism, it dates back thousands of years and divides people into a 5-tier hierarchy. At the bottom are the Dalits, also known as the untouchables, often forced into low-paid, stigmatized jobs like hand-cleaning toilets or collecting garbage. At the top are the Brahmins. They often work as teachers or priests. Each caste is further divided into thousands of smaller subcastes. Ramanujan and his parents are Vaishnavite Brahmins, and they follow the rules that come with their caste strictly. In India, being part of a higher caste generally means higher wealth, but there are exceptions. Brahmins do not condone public displays of luxury. What truly matters is living a life of mental or spiritual depth while remaining modest. Ramanujan's parents are poor. To make ends meet, the family often takes in subtenants for extra income. This is the world Ramanujan grows up in. He's a quiet, thoughtful child who loves being by himself. When he first attends school, he hates it. He doesn't like the teachers, and he resists a rigid system telling him what to do. After he repeatedly skips school, the family hires a local police officer to escort him there. Early on, his family moves frequently, forcing Ramanujan to switch schools again and again. After the family finally settles in Kumbakonam, he begins to excel in school, especially in math. His classmates start coming to him for help. He breezes through exams in half the time, and before long, he's so advanced that he even challenges his teachers. Around the age of 13, Ramanujan's math teacher tries to explain a basic concept. Divide anything by itself, and the result is always 1. He says, whether you divide 3 fruits among 3 people, or 1,000 fruits among 1,000, each person gets 1 fruit. Then Ramanujan speaks up. But is 0 divided by 0 also 1? If no fruits are divided among no one, we'll each still get 1.
Big dog, where's the Zen Tower? It's in the drawer. I don't think I really want to do that right now. It's getting fucking big, dude. The Zen Tower is leaning. It's bad.
1. Ramanujan isn't just a troublemaker. His talent proves useful to the school as well. When they need to assign 1,200 students to 3 dozen teachers, while factoring in special cases and individual needs, they turn to Ramanujan for help. But his true talent goes way deeper. As a student, he independently rediscovers the solution to the quadratic equation, a major mathematical problem from Renaissance Italy. He dives into advanced topics like infinite series,
Yeah, see, like, I don't know what any of these are.
far beyond the standard curriculum. Most of his classmates, and even the teachers, rarely understood what he was talking about.
Yo, like, this is what I mean. Pirate just popped into the stream, called me a part-timer, and then left. Actually, fuck this guy.
All Ramanujan wants is to go deeper and deeper into mathematics. Then, one day at age 16, he gets his hand on a book, probably passed along by a friend from the local college library. The book isn't exactly a page-turner. It's basically a list of 5,000 equations and theorems, lined up one after another, with almost no explanation. It was meant to help math students cram for a specific exam. By the time Ramanujan gets a hold of it, it's already more than a decade old. But Ramanujan becomes completely absorbed by the book. He dives into its dense pages, studying those complex equations. In math, proof is everything. Mathematicians have to show, step by step, why equations like these are always true. But Carr's book rarely provides any proof. Instead, it leaves the reader to figure things out on their own. For Ramanujan, every equation in this book is like a puzzle, begging to be solved. He tackles them using his own methods, far from anything you'd find in academia. The book leaves a deep mark on him, but he doesn't just study the numbers, he develops a kind of religious devotion to them. Ramanujan is a devout Hindu with deep faith.
A religious devotion to math. Dude, maybe that's the method. I'm gonna create a religious devotion towards streaming and then just... Wait, but he went to prison though. Maybe this isn't the best idea.
He often visits the local temple and takes part in ceremonies and rituals at home, but his devotion goes beyond caste tradition. He regularly prays to the family goddess, Namagiri, and is determined to follow what he believes.
If you want compliments, just ask Pretty Boy. I mean, a compliment wouldn't be bad, honestly. I'd kind of appreciate that.
To be her will. The boy credits all his extraordinary mathematical abilities to the gods. He doesn't see math as a human concept, he sees it as a window into the deeper structure of the universe.
An equation for me has no meaning unless it expresses a thought of God.
Math explains our world, the entire universe really. Ramanujan might have liked having a picture of a remote galaxy in his bedroom. Well, you can, on a robust and beautifully designed metal poster like this one, by Displate. It's easy to set up. You just put the sticker on the wall, press the magnet on it, and the poster will hang nice and steady. Thanks to the
Didn't even say thank you. What did you even say? I don't know what this is. Like, I don't... Brother, you're typing in ball knowledge I don't understand. A popular character archetype in an anime. That was your compliment! Yo, count your fucking days, pirate. Count your fucking days. No, this guy's such an asshole. This guy's such an asshole.
magnet, you can switch posters just as easily. You can pick from over 2 million artworks, original art, and a fixture. The description I've worked in.
Here's how. Monitor well.
Oh my god, yo, he showed me a sponsorship and then also ran an ad right after. Yeah, Fern, fuck you. Not the part, but... Okay. Oh, for saying Pretty Boy? That sounded... You didn't say it in a positive connotation. Like, that was negative. Yeah, this guy's gaslighting me.
With top marks, not just in math, but across the board. The school's director even says he deserves more than an A+. Ramanujan, he says, was off the scale. Ramanujan is driven to become a great mathematician. He's already something of a local legend for his uncanny math skills. He even earns a scholarship to the college in his hometown. But this is where things begin to fall apart. For the first time in his life, Ramanujan faces real...
Fine, you're a W streamer. Thank you. Thank you, pirate.
...failures.
Yes, I am happy. I am happy.
The college expects him to attend multiple different lectures, but he's beginning to lose interest in anything besides math. While his professors lecture on Roman history, he's scribbling formulas, completely absorbed in algebra, trigonometry, and calculus. This comes with major consequences.
Yep, okay. Yeah, no, I'm timing you out. He called me good boy. Yeah, this guy's such a fucking weirdo. Okay, why is the timeout 10 minutes?
Eventually, Ramanujan loses his scholarship, and a single term at college costs as much as his father earns in a month and a half. His academic future is suddenly at risk. His parents are now pouring what little money they have into his education. He feels guilty and miserable. The pressure to perform in every subject is mounting, but he's terrified it will take him away from the one subject he lives for. Eventually, the strain becomes too much. One day, he walks away, dropping out of college. At 18, he tries to study at a different college, but fails again.
Yeah, dude, most geniuses, like, in history are all bad at school. Like, that's, like, a notorious thing about geniuses, is that they're terrible at school.
By now, Ramanujan is in his early 20s and desperately searching for work, and little by little, he begins to lose hope. Everyone close to him knows he's a genius, but there seems to be no place for him in academia. Around this time, Ramanujan's mother arranges a marriage for him. His bride is just 9 years old. The marriage...
Oh, like... Yeah, I do not understand this part of the culture at all. It's so fucking weird.
Marriage doesn't change much in his life. They don't live together right away. She stays with her mother to learn how to cook and manage a household. But the pressure on Ramanujan to earn a living grows even heavier. Day after day, he works in solitude, driven by ideas no one around him fully understands. And wherever he goes, he keeps some things close.
Those are the best kinds of ideas.
Personal notebooks, worn from use, packed cover to cover with equations and theorems. 3 of those notebooks survive, though he likely had more. The first
Are they all his equations? Or like, what are they?
known one is written in green ink, packed with things like hypergeometric series and continued fractions.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know what those are.
It's organized into chapters by topic, with theorems neatly numbered. Ramanujan likely edited it, tidying up the rough sketches from an earlier version. But over time, that order begins to fray. When he runs out of space, he scribbles calculations on the backs of pages, using them for scratch work. For Ramanujan, his notebooks are a vast collection of his discoveries, and he knows that these notebooks will be his ticket to a job related to math. He presents them to influential people who might be able to help. And eventually, it works. Someone from the newly founded Indian Mathematical Society in Pune sees his potential and believes in his remarkable talent. They agree to support him, allowing Ramanujan to focus entirely on mathematics. And it doesn't take long for Ramanujan to publish his first paper in the Society's journal. It's a piece on Bernoulli numbers, a sequence of numbers that shows up in an analysis. It reveals his talent when dealing with infinite sums. But still, no one truly understands his brilliance. And the modest salary from the Society isn't enough. He still has to work as a clerk at the port in Madras just to make ends meet. So those close to Ramanujan urge him again and again to contact mathematicians in the West. If no one in India could support him, maybe they would. He starts writing letters, but nothing comes of it. Then, finally, he writes to Godfrey Harold Hardy, a rising mathematician and fellow at Trinity College, Cambridge.
Oh, this is 1913?
At this time, Cambridge is regarded as the center of mathematics in England. Hardy is just 35, but already highly respected in the field. For both Hardy and Ramanujan, this letter changes everything. Hardy is nothing like Ramanujan. Though he shares a deep passion for mathematics, he doesn't believe in God. He's outspoken and never shy about sharing his opinions, especially when it comes to other mathematicians and their work.
Yeah, I also think it's kind of funny that the smartest people in history don't believe in religion. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not making any sort of connection. I'm just putting it out there.
Hardy is full of contradictions, strict and serious, but also kind and generous. He claims not to care about untalented students, yet he never lets any of them fail. There are plenty of things Hardy reportedly hates: the English climate, watches, and politicians among them. But he also has his loves: cats, crossword puzzles, and most of all, cricket. He doesn't just enjoy the sport, he adores it. He plays it, watches it, and studies it, along with its champions. At times, he's even seen running around the Fellows' Garden at Trinity, cricket bat in hand, frantically searching for his gloves just before a match begins. And of course, Hardy is a gifted mathematician, widely regarded as one of the most influential British mathematicians of the 20th century. His work plays a key role in shaping modern mathematics. Ramanujan's letter arrives in 1913. Hardy would later call it the most remarkable letter he ever received. The first sentences are brutally honest.
Dear Sir, I beg to introduce myself to you as a clerk in the accounts department of the Port Trust office at Madras on a salary of only £20 per annum. I am now about 23 years of age. I have had
How much was that then?
no university education.
Ramanujan writes that he's been doing mathematics in his spare time, and he doesn't shy away from being called a genius either.
I have not trodden through the conventional regular course, which is followed in a university course, but I am striking out a new path for myself. I have made a special investigation of divergence series in general, and the results I get are termed by the local mathematicians as startling.
To catch Hardy's attention, Ramanujan refers to a paper Hardy had published. In it, Hardy referred to a decades-old prime number theorem. He had asserted that a specific term's precise order has not been determined. In the letter, Ramanujan disagrees, and he even provides a solution. To Hardy, this sounds insane. A poor clerk without a college degree claims he knows better than some of the most famous mathematicians in history. But Ramanujan doesn't stop there. He's attached at least 9 pages filled with equations, hoping they might be published. And, of course, he wants Hardy's feedback. Hardy studies the pages, neatly arranged equations, laid out in the style of Carr's book. But the content is unlike anything he's ever seen. The numbers and symbols are familiar, but their arrangement feels alien, as if they came from another world. Some of the equations are crisp and clear, but seem outright impossible, like the one where Ramanujan claims that rather than infinity, the sum of all natural numbers can be written as -1/12. A statement that surprisingly turns out to be true, although not in the way we usually add numbers. Instead, it relies on highly advanced number theory. In Ramanujan's notes, there are hardly any explanations for what he has come up with. Hardy's first reaction is suspicion. This has to be some kind of hoax. He sets the letter aside and picks up the newspaper, just like any other ordinary day. But the letter continues to linger on his mind. What if this poor Indian clerk is actually brilliant? Hardy shows Ramanujan's letter to...
So he made a whole... I still don't really understand anything about the math aspect, but it seems like he made an entirely new form of doing math, like an entire new way of doing it, and then made equations based off of that. But also, I'm fucking stupid, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Almost everyone around him at Cambridge. He sends parts of it to experts in specific fields. And he reaches out to a colleague, John Littlewood. He's just 2 years older than Ramanujan, but unlike him, Littlewood had received the finest education, and like Hardy, he's already regarded as one of the leading mathematicians of his generation. The two spend hours poring over the formulas. After a while, they make a discovery. Not every formula is new. Even so, only a mathematician of the highest caliber could have produced work like this. The more they analyze the work, the more dazzled they become. Hardy and Littlewood are convinced that even the toughest exams wouldn't cover the kinds of theorems he's creating. They're just too advanced. Just before midnight, they reach their conclusion. These formulas must be true, because if they were not, no one would have the imagination to invent them. This isn't merely the work of an exceptional mathematician. This is the work of a genius.
Holy shit!
Hardy decides to write back. He's thrilled by Ramanujan's ideas, but insists on something crucial: proof. Rigorous, step-by-step documentation showing how Ramanujan arrived at his formulas. Hardy makes it crystal clear. Without proper proof, the value of his work can't be properly judged. But Ramanujan never truly learned how to provide proof. His favorite book, a collection of formulas, rarely provided any, and the Indian education system at the time didn't emphasize that either. Still, Hardy's letter is full of encouragement. He writes that he's deeply impressed Ramanujan developed all of this without a college education, and that his work could in fact be published.
If you can produce satisfactory demonstration, I should be very glad to do what I can to secure it.
Hardy wants Ramanujan here, in England. When Ramanujan learns of the invitation, his mind starts to race. But he can't go, not because of his failed exams or missing degrees, but because of his faith. As a Brahmin Hindu, Ramanujan isn't allowed to cross the sea. For him and his family, these rules matter deeply. If a devout Hindu...
Yeah, but doesn't he not believe in that?
...like Ramanujan were to travel to England, he could be expelled from his caste. He might no longer be welcome in the homes of his friends and family, or even be allowed to enter a temple again. For now, Ramanujan is tied to India. Still, with Hardy, there is finally someone who listens to him, someone who takes him seriously. His letters move him deeply. When he replies, he doesn't hold back his joy.
I have found a friend in you.
Ramanujan knows that he's smart.
What I want at this stage is for eminent professors like you to recognize that there is some worth in me.
Hardy and Ramanujan exchange letters for months. Ramanujan tries to include proofs for some of his theorems, but they're often incomplete. Hardy remains determined to bring him to Cambridge, to nurture his talent, and to finally talk in person about his extraordinary formulas. But there's only one person with the power to let Ramanujan go. His mother has always been a central figure in his life. She's more than a parent, she's a friend. They enjoy each other's company. They understand each other. And for her, living by the rules of the Brahmin caste is essential. She's firmly against the idea of her son crossing the ocean. And for Ramanujan, her disapproval carries real weight. But one night, Ramanujan's mother has a dream. In it, she sees her son surrounded by Europeans. She hears the voice of the goddess Namagiri, their family deity. The goddess tells her not to stand in the way of her son's destiny, not to block the path to the purpose he was born to fulfill. The dream leaves a deep impression on Ramanujan's mother. To her, it's a clear sign, a message she can't ignore. She listens to the goddess and gives Ramanujan her blessing to sail to Europe. Meanwhile, Hardy and his colleagues do everything in their power to secure him a scholarship. Somehow, they persuade Madras University to support him. They provide him with funding for a 2-year stay in Cambridge. Nothing's stopping Ramanujan now. He can finally go where the greatest minds in mathematics are. On March 17, 1914, the 26-year-old boards a ship to Europe with Western clothes. But his new life in England will be nothing like he imagined. Eventually, this foreign country will break him.
Imagine being...
Yo, I'm so hyped. This story's going somewhere insane, because I saw a jail cell in the intro. I don't know where this is gonna go.
When Ramanujan arrives in London, he's overwhelmed. Nearly 5 million people live here, 10 times more than in Madras. The city is fast, loud, and vastly different from Ramanujan's quiet life in South India. In the early days, one of Hardy's colleagues looks after Ramanujan. He even lets him stay in his home. Later, Ramanujan moves to Whale Court in Cambridge, just 5 minutes away from Hardy. In this unfamiliar world, Ramanujan faces new challenges. He now eats with knives and forks, something he finds awful. Hard metallic things penetrating the mouth, he says, and he struggles to remember the English names of the people he meets. Still, those early days have their joys. Spring arrives with beautiful weather, and for a moment, everything feels full of promise. Ramanujan is simply happy to be in this mathematical heaven, where his ideas no longer draw puzzled looks. Most importantly, he now gets to work closely with Hardy and Littlewood, the two elite mathematicians who sifted through his notes and saw the brilliance within. Ramanujan meets with Hardy and Littlewood several times a week. Hardy is especially eager to dive into Ramanujan's notebooks. So day after day, they sit together, working through those strange but beautiful equations. Now, with no ocean between them, it's finally easier for Ramanujan to explain his ideas. He can show Hardy and Littlewood, face to face, the formulas he spent years developing through tireless effort and isolation. Back in India, Ramanujan was always alone. Just Carr's book, his own notes, and his relentless drive. No one around him truly understood his work. But now he has real companions. Although he is living in an unfamiliar country, their presence more than makes up for it. Most of the time, Ramanujan is tucked away in his or Hardy's room, lost in mathematics. He's rarely seen outside, but when he is, people spot him waddling across the court in slippers. Western shoes are too tight for him. When Hardy studies Ramanujan's notebooks, he's fascinated with his intuitive approach to mathematics. It's nothing like the methods of Cambridge-trained mathematicians. Hardy is especially impressed by Ramanujan's insight into algebraic formulas and into the transformation of infinite series. Some of his results are rediscoveries other mathematicians had found 50 or 100 years before. Ramanujan often found new ways to obtain them, but large parts of his notebooks consist of entirely new formulas. At the time, Hardy and Littlewood are only beginning to scratch the surface of Ramanujan's work, and even decades later, mathematicians will still be wrestling with the depth and mystery of the formulas he left behind. Hardy begins to understand how deeply, almost spiritually, Ramanujan connects with numbers. There is a moment when Hardy visits Ramanujan by cab when he notices a number on it, 1729. When he tells Ramanujan about it, he calls it a rather dull number. Ramanujan, in fact, sees much more in it. But what exactly does he see? We invited Derek over, from our good friends at Veritasium, to help make sense of this.
Ramanujan's immediate response is that 1729 is a fascinating number because it's the smallest number that can be written as the sum of two cubes in two different ways.
Cubic numbers are just one number multiplied by itself 3 times. So you can have 1 cubed, 2 cubed, 3 cubed, and so on. Now you can start adding some of these together. For example, 1 cubed plus 2 cubed equals 9, or 3 cubed plus 4 cubed equals 91. If we list all numbers up to 100, what you find is that most numbers can't be written as the sum of 2 cubes at all. And even if you can only write it in one unique way. The same is true for all numbers up to 500, 1,000, or even 1,500. But that changes at 1729. This is the smallest number that can be written as 1 cubed plus 12 cubed and as 9 cubed plus 10 cubed.
Ramanujan already knew about this number, and he recognized it as soon as Hardy mentioned his taxi.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. Yeah. How? Like, why can't I be blessed with this level of intelligence?
In fact, mathematicians named these taxicab numbers after that very conversation. But Ramanujan's incredible grasp of numbers can perhaps be best seen with what he did with pi.
Pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, but what makes it special is that it has an infinite number of non-repeating digits. For centuries, mathematicians worked on finding better and better ways to write down pi. In the 17th century, the famous German mathematician Gottfried Leibniz wrote down the following formula. His formula uses an infinite sum over n. We can start approximating this by taking the expression and replacing n with 0. Next, we add another term, but now we set n equal to 1. And if you keep doing this, you get closer and closer to the true value. If we broke it down and rearranged to find pi, the result would look something like this. Theoretically, if we repeated this process all the way from 0 to infinity, the answer would be exactly pi.
But of course, writing down an infinite number of terms is impossible. We have to stop somewhere, and that means our answer will just be an approximation. The more terms we add, the better the estimate.
We can see this on a graph. For each additional term, the result of the Leibniz formula bounces around, but it slowly gets closer and closer to pi. Using this method, after adding the first 10 terms, we have an answer of 3.0418. Well, that's not very good. How about 1,000 terms? Now we get 3.1405. Better, but still not great. In fact, using the Leibniz formula, we'd need to add millions of terms together to get just a few correct decimal places. This wasn't good enough for Ramanujan, and so he came up with his own formula. What's remarkable about this expression is that by adding just one term, you correctly calculate.
Like, how do you just make a formula? I don't understand what's going on at all.
Which is better than the estimate we got from Leibniz's formula when we added 1,000,000 terms. The result is so good that looking at the graph from earlier, Ramanujan's estimate immediately sits right on top of the true value of pi at this scale. You'd have to zoom way in to even see the difference. Somehow, Ramanujan derived a formula for pi so powerful that even decades later, it was still used to correctly calculate millions of digits of pi. And that's just one part of his legacy. Other formulas have found surprising applications in modern physics, including areas like string theory.
Remarkably, part of his work is so deep and cryptic that mathematicians are still trying to understand it today.
Right, okay.
We're huge fans of Veritasium. A while ago, they published an amazing video on a special method Hardy, Littlewood, and Ramanujan came up with. Go check it out. Link is in the description.
No! Fuck off. Whoa. This game looks fucking sick, though.
Hardy sees Ramanujan's talent and wants to help him publish parts of his work. But he also knows it needs a lot of polishing, improving the English, refining the notation, shaping the results. So Hardy steps in as Ramanujan's editor. In 1914, Ramanujan publishes his first paper in England, a study on approximations of pi. It's work he began back in India, and he likely could have gone on publishing directly from the notebooks. But over time, Hardy encourages him to go further. He wants Ramanujan to create new mathematics, using new methods he's teaching him. So for now, Ramanujan sets the notebooks aside. Hardy's guidance sparks new enthusiasm in Ramanujan. Just a year later, he publishes 9 papers. One of them focuses on what he calls highly composite numbers, numbers with more divisors than any smaller number. Hardy praises the extraordinary insight Ramanujan shows in the work. One day, Ramanujan tries to explain the concept to a student and another mathematician. As he flips quickly through the pages, sharing idea after idea, the mathematician struggles to keep up and ends up with a splitting headache. Ramanujan is happy.
Yo, you got a migraine from looking at this guy's equations?
His scholarship pays well, nearly 4 times the annual salary of an English industrial worker at the time, and he has something just as valuable as the money, the freedom to focus entirely on his mathematics. Ramanujan goes on to publish one remarkable paper after another, with Hardy helping to polish the proofs and sharpen the presentation. They even collaborate on projects. But at the same time, life is growing more difficult for Ramanujan. Ramanujan is in England at one of the worst possible times. In 1914, World War I breaks out. It marks the beginning of a dark chapter for Europe, and for England. Ramanujan feels the impact as most students head off to war. Many won't return. Even Littlewood, with whom Ramanujan had grown close, leaves to contribute to the war effort. In the years that follow, Ramanujan becomes increasingly isolated. He withdraws, rarely leaves his room, and often works through the night. On top of that, the English climate is harsh, especially for someone from South India, where it's never cold. One cold winter's day, in 1914, a student visits Ramanujan in his room at Trinity College. where he's now living. The room is freezing, and Ramanujan sits close to the fire. He tells his visitor it's been so cold he's had to sleep in his overcoat, wrapped in a scarf. Concerned, the student checks to see if Ramanujan has enough blankets. He finds them neatly folded and tucked away in the bed. And then it hits him. Ramanujan doesn't know how to use them. When the student shows him how, Ramanujan is deeply grateful. The war makes it harder for Ramanujan to follow his caste rules around food. Before leaving India, he had promised his mother to stick to them, only vegetarian meals, prepared and eaten in the presence of Brahmins. So Ramanujan mostly cooks for himself, simple things like rice, yogurt, and fruit. But as the war drags on, ingredients become scarce, prices increase. Eventually, he survives on little more than rice with salt and lemon juice. Without proper nutrition, his health begins to deteriorate. Through these difficult years, Ramanujan's relationship with Hardy becomes his anchor. Hardy turns into the best friend Ramanujan ever had, and seeing his immense potential, Hardy pushes him, hard. He wants Ramanujan to go further, to reach the full limits of his genius. Ramanujan in turn becomes addicted to Hardy's praise. He wants to live up to it, to prove himself worthy. But that pressure only deepens the strain. Unlike back home, there's no one here to remind him to rest, no one to cook while he works, no one to comfort him as his isolation and suffering grow. His passion for mathematics, and even his bond with Hardy, can't fill those gaps. By 1917, Ramanujan becomes seriously ill. It's never clear what exactly he suffered from. Some say tuberculosis, others suspect it's an intestinal disease. Probably the missing nutrients were taking their toll. When Hardy learns of this, he writes a letter to the university in Madras, stating that Ramanujan is suffering from an incurable disease. Ramanujan is sent to a nursing home, but even while sick, he isn't an easy patient. He stays picky about food, constantly complains about his aching body, and doesn't believe in medicine. Even Hardy admits,
"It is very difficult to get him to take proper care of himself."
Over the next 2 years, Ramanujan sees multiple doctors and spends time in at least 4 different hospitals and sanatoriums. During this time, letters from his family and even from his wife become fewer and farther between. The silence weighs on him, and he becomes more and more depressed, until one day he simply can't take it anymore. Ramanujan stands alone on the platform of a London Underground station. A train approaches, and Ramanujan throws himself onto the tracks. A guard sees what's happening. He rushes over and pulls the emergency switch. The train screeches and comes to a halt just a few feet in front of Ramanujan. Policemen drag him out of the station. At the time, attempted suicide is considered a crime in England. Ramanujan is arrested and brought to Scotland Yard. Hardy gets called to the police.
Okay, so this person's at their lowest point, to the point where they want to unalive themselves, and you put him in a prison cell? Where the fuck is the thought process there?
Station, and he uses all his charm and academic status to assure the policeman this person is no criminal, but an absolute genius. So they decide to let him go. The officer in charge later admits that they didn't want to ruin his life. Ramanujan returns to another nursing home. Then, in February 1918, he receives a telegram from Hardy, with news so unexpected he can hardly believe it. Ramanujan has been elected a Fellow of the Royal Society, one of the youngest in history. It's among the highest honors in science, reserved for those with truly exceptional insight. Past fellows include names like Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin. Ramanujan is thrilled. He writes back to Hardy, saying his words aren't enough to express his gratitude. But Ramanujan is still seriously ill, now undergoing treatment for tuberculosis. He suffers from high fevers and unexplained pain. While still in the nursing home, Ramanujan receives news from Madras. He's been offered a fellowship, £250 a year. It means he could return home to India and even come back to England occasionally for research. By now, Ramanujan has likely had enough of Europe. He accepts the offer and leaves Hardy in Cambridge behind, a place that gave him so much, but also left deep scars.
Want to strengthen your math?
Oh my gosh, so, why does he wait for me to lock into the video and then fuck me with an ad? What is this? Get on with it. Get on with it.
Ramanujan arrives in Bombay. His mother is there to welcome him. Back in Madras, Ramanujan finally reunites with his wife. She'd been 13 when he left. Now she is 18. When the secretary of the Indian Mathematical Society
it's still so weird. It's still so weird.
Ramanujan in Madras, he's shocked. He looks awful. He lost weight, and his character changed. He isn't cheerful and affectionate anymore, but depressed and cold. Doctors advise Ramanujan to move somewhere cooler to support his recovery, so he relocates to a town near his birthplace, and later returns to the place where he spent most of his youth, Kumbakonam. This time, his wife is with him. Doctors visit him, examine him, treat him, but his health continues to decline. Through it all, he never stops doing math. In January 1920, Ramanujan writes to Hardy one last time. He shares what he calls a new invention, Mach theta functions, and includes examples. These functions are extraordinary, mysterious, and for decades, no one will fully understand them. They would become his final legacy. By that time, Ramanujan is just skin and bones. The pain is constant and intense. His wife tends to him, placing hot towels on his legs and chest, trying to ease the suffering. Even then, 4 days before his death, he still writes about math.
All I can tell you is that day and night he worked on sums. He didn't do anything else. He wasn't interested in anything else, just sums. He wouldn't stop work even to eat. We had to make rice balls for him and place them in the palm of his hand. Isn't that extraordinary?
On April 26, 1920, Ramanujan falls unconscious. His wife sits by his side, gently trying to feed him diluted milk. By mid-morning, he passes. He's just 32 years old.
For him, in this universe, maths was everything. On his deathbed, he told me that his name would live for 100 years.
That was so fucking cool. Yeah, I'm realizing how significantly dumb I am in comparison to these people. Next video, lock in, missing children who turned up alive years later. This one seems insane.
The story of a 24-year-old thought to be missing for decades, now found a grown, married man.
What? Okay, so before, when I saw this thumbnail of the video, I did have a question. Like, are they going missing, staying in captivity the whole time, and then getting out somehow? Or are they going missing and then just living a whole different life? I was wondering this question, so clearly there's one in there.
Clicked on a website for missing children and found a picture of himself. That sent him
on okay, this is gonna be a banger.
Search to unlock the secrets of his past.
A little girl reported missing more than 2 years ago when she was just 4 has been found alive. More than 100.
Okay, and then this was the alternative. This is what I was talking about. So they have both. Okay, I'm hype.
50 miles from where she disappeared.
This is such an incredible story, and the family tells us they never gave up hope that she would come home one day.
One of these children we're going to talk about had no idea she was even missing. Another showed up alive just when her parents lost hope, and one solved her own kidnapping. These are missing children who turned up alive, and each case just gets stranger than the last. So the new goal, guys, is 2.5 million subscribers by the end of 2026. It would mean the world if you subscribe, and I will do my very best to make the best videos I possibly can for you. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. The girl who never came home. In 1998, a 14-year-old girl went missing. A man was accused of ending her life. He was put on trial and was close to receiving life in prison. Then something unbelievable happened. The girl everyone thought was dead showed up alive. The question was how? Her name was Natasha Ryan. She grew up in Rockhampton, Australia. But Natasha was a troubled teenager. Her parents separated when she was young, and the change affected her deeply. So she started acting out.
Young, Natasha had behavioral problems. She ran away several times, regularly fought with her mother, Jenny, and was suspended from school.
Running away became a habit for Natasha. Whenever she got angry, she would leave home. But each time, she came back. However, running away wasn't the worst thing Natasha did. She had a secret. Although Natasha was only 14, she was secretly dating a 22-year-old named Scott.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh. Okay, listen, like, I don't want to be one of those people that says that I hate all men, but y'all make it so fucking hard not to.
That secret relationship was about to cause her family 5 years of pain. On August 31st, 1998, Natasha ran away from home again. Her mother called the police. Officers began searching for the missing teenager. But at first, no one was too worried. They knew Natasha had a history of running away. Everyone assumed she would return in a few days. They were soon proven wrong. Weeks passed and there was no sign of her. Then months passed. Her family began to think maybe she didn't run away. Maybe she was taken. Around that time, other girls in the same town also vanished. vanished.
Other women were disappearing, and it seemed as though something much bigger was happening in Rockhampton.
Police believed the disappearances might be connected, including Natasha's. Then investigators caught a major break. In April 1999, another girl went missing. This time, witnesses saw the man who took her. The kidnapper was Leonard Fraser. He did not have a good record.
Fraser has already served many years in jail for
He looks like he would.
especially as well as a string of other offenses.
The police tracked Fraser down. Sadly, they were too late to save the girl. He just took Fraser already, ended her. He was arrested. Investigators suspected he was behind the other disappearances as well, but they needed a confession. At first, Fraser refused to cooperate, so he was put behind bars while he awaited trial. That's when he realized he was in danger. The other prisoners wanted to take his life.
He desperately wanted to be moved into protective custody because other prisoners were eager to terminate his existence.
Police offered Fraser a deal. If he confessed, they would move him somewhere safer.
In exchange for being moved into a murder-free environment, Leonard confessed to killing 4 other victims, including Natasha Ryan.
Fraser confessed to ending Natasha. Police believed him because Natasha disappeared around the same time as the other victims, so he was charged with all of the murders. When Natasha's family heard the news, they were devastated. They even held a memorial service for her, but they were about to be in for a surprise. When Natasha ran away, she went to her secret boyfriend, Scott. For years, she hid in his apartment, and Scott's neighbors had no idea she was there. She always stayed indoors. The curtains stayed closed most of the time. When she did go outside, it was usually late at night. When visitors came over, she hid in the bedroom cupboard.
Where were you? I was sitting down there.
Over the years, the couple moved between several homes. Eventually,
Okay, but like, how do you just like agree to this, ma'am?
Scott rented an apartment that was just 5 minutes from Natasha's childhood home. And one day, Natasha heard Fraser was arrested for her murder and that he confessed. She didn't understand why. Fraser's trial began soon after. Natasha thought about coming forward, but she felt the lie had become too big, so she stayed hidden. Then someone sent a letter to the police.
Police received an anonymous note that said Natasha Ryan is alive and well, with a phone number on it that they tracked to a house in the suburb of Frenchville.
Police still believed Natasha was one of Fraser's victims, but they decided to investigate the tip anyway. In April 2003, officers went to the address from the letter. It was Scott's apartment. Scott answered the door and claimed Natasha was not there, but police insisted on searching the apartment anyway. They walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, and found Natasha hiding inside. Since Natasha was alive during Fraser's trial, she was called to testify. In court, she told the judge she never met Fraser. Since Fraser lied about ending Natasha, the court questioned whether his other confessions were also false. A dangerous man could potentially...
Okay, why, if you didn't do it, why would you want to take credit for it and make your sentence higher? That makes no sense to me.
Eventually walk free. However, in the end, there was enough evidence to convict Fraser.
Justice Brian Ambrose sentences him to 3 indefinite jail terms and describes Fraser as an untreatable psychopath.
Natasha and Scott also faced charges. Natasha was fined for causing a false police investigation, and her boyfriend Scott was convicted of lying to police. For that crime, he was jailed for 1 year.
Not statutory? Okay. Yeah, no, just fuck the statutory, I guess.
Natasha's story made headlines around the world. Many people in her town were mad at her for what she put her family through. However, Natasha never publicly apologized. Years later, Natasha and Scott got married. They eventually had 3 kids together.
Ew!
Natasha worked incredibly hard to stay hidden, hiding in a closet, only going outside at night. It was still found the moment someone shared her phone number. Right now, a complete stranger can go online and find much more than just your phone number. Your email, home address, and even your family members can be searched in minutes. And this happened to me. Someone found my personal information online and used it to threaten me and my family. That was the moment I realized we are more exposed than we think. I tried to delete my data online by myself, but there were hundreds of websites that had it. There was absolutely no way I could remove it all on my own, because data broker websites make money by collecting your information and selling them to anyone who wants it. And it's insane to me that this is completely illegal. But data brokers are also required by law to delete your information if you ask them to. But chasing down every single website is nearly impossible. That's why today's sponsor, Aura, exists. Aura finds
this is actually cool.
patches
This is
and
actually
theft, ensure your slash data is already not even realizing it. The victim who became a hero. Stephen Stayner's disappearance was so dramatic that Hollywood made a TV show about it, but the show was hard to watch because it showed the terrible things Stephen endured after he disappeared. Stephen Stayner vanished in 1972. He was 7. He was walking home from school when a strange man approached him. The man claimed he was collecting donations for a church. Stephen thought his mother might want to help the church.
He asked Stephen if he could take him home so he could get some donations. Stephen was so young, he believed the story, got in the car. He never was taken home.
As the car drove away, Stephen was being abducted, and he didn't even realize it. Meanwhile, Stephen's parents lived in Merced, California. When he didn't come home from school, they grew worried. They called the police. A massive search began, but they found no trace of the boy. The man who took Stephen was named Kenneth Parnell. He drove the boy to a cabin miles away. Almost immediately, Parnell began brainwashing him.
He goes to a payphone. He comes back and tells Stephen, "Your parents, I just spoke to them. They no longer want you."
Stephen believed the lie. He thought his parents actually gave him away.
How do you buy that, though? I mean, like, that's so obviously fake.
Over the next 7 years, Parnell reshaped Stephen's life. He enrolled him in school using fake documents. Everyone thought Parnell was Stephen's dad.
Kenneth told Stephen that his new name was Dennis Gregory Parnell, and he kept Stephen's middle name, but he dyed Stephen's hair.
Years passed. By the time Stephen became a teenager, he accepted this strange life as normal. Things were stable until 1980. That year, Parnell wanted another victim, so he went out and abducted someone else. Parnell took Timothy White. He was only 5. Parnell told Stephen that Timothy was now part of the family. By then, Stephen...
Wait, but he wasn't doing anything to the kids? He was just raising them? What kind of sick shit are you into, bro?
Stephen was 14. He was old enough to know the truth. He knew Timothy didn't come there by choice, and Stephen felt sorry for him. Stephen decided it was time to escape, and he was going to take Timothy with him.
Stephen had no idea where Timothy lived, and Timothy couldn't remember as well, so they decided the next best thing to do, and the smartest thing they could have ever done, was find a police station.
Parnell worked as a security guard. That meant he often worked night shifts, so Stephen waited. The moment Parnell left for work, Stephen took Timothy and left the house. Then they ran for their lives. Eventually, the boys reached a police station. Stephen told officers everything that happened. Police asked him to write a statement. Part of his statement read, "I know my first name is Stephen. I'm pretty sure my last name is Stayner. And if I have a middle name, I don't know it." That same night, officers arrested Kenneth Parnell. He was sent to prison. Both boys were reunited with their families. Stephen's return was front page news. He was considered a hero for saving Timothy.
Stephen was a national hero. He returns to Merced triumphant.
He became a mini celebrity.
Every television network, every magazine cover, every movie executive, there wasn't anyone not interested.
It seemed like a beautiful ending, but sadly, it wasn't. Although Stephen was home, his struggles were just beginning. Stephen had a hard time adjusting to life back home. He felt that his parents were still treating him as their 7-year-old child. School wasn't any better. He dropped out because...
I mean, like, how else would they treat you? Like, you went missing for, like, how long? Fucking 7 years? And then you just show up again? Like, what?
The other kids were mocking him. When Stephen was 20, he got married. Over the next 4 years, the couple welcomed 2 kids. Around that time, Hollywood came calling. In 1989, they made a mini-series about Stephen's life. It was titled, "I Know My First Name is Stephen."
For 7 long years,
what a shitty name.
He had the courage to survive the man who took him.
The TV series brought Stephen's story to millions of people, but Stephen never got the chance to enjoy his impact. A few months after the show aired, Stephen was involved in a car accident. He didn't survive. He was only 24. His funeral drew a large crowd. One of those who carried his coffin was Timothy White, the little boy he saved. Years later, Timothy became a sheriff's deputy. He dedicated his life to protecting children, just as Stephen protected him. Sadly, Timothy also passed away young. He was only 35. The city of Merced later chose to honor both boys, so they built a statue of Stephen and Timothy as children. This next missing persons case was accidentally solved by a college application. The father and son who vanished. Bobby Hernandez and his partner broke up. He took that anger to the extreme. So
Wait, father and son?
He decided to kidnap his own son. In 2002, 5-year-old Julian Hernandez was at the center of a custody battle. His parents separated, and the court gave his mother full legal custody. However, his dad Bobby didn't take it well. He quietly waited for a chance to get revenge. Although the mom had full custody, she still allowed her ex Bobby to spend time with her son. One day, she left the boy alone with his father. Bobby saw the chance. By the time the mother returned, both Julian and Bobby were gone.
Boy's father, who she wasn't married to, had come to watch the child and left a note saying he'd taken him.
She immediately reported her son Julian missing, but Bobby, the father, was long gone. He took little Julian to Cleveland to start a new life. He even created new identities for both of them. Julian was 5 years old, so he still remembered his mother. But when he asked about her, Bobby lied. He claimed Julian's mom abandoned them because she didn't care. Over time, the boy began to believe it. Julian spent his childhood with his father. He had a relatively good life. In high school, he was an honor student and an athlete. But in 2015, Julian ran into a problem. He was filling out forms to apply for college, but his social security number didn't match his name. Confused, he tried to get help.
We went to his school counselor to try and help him out. School counselor did some research and ended up finding out that this boy was on the Center for Missing and Exploited Children's list of kidnapped children.
It's like a do not...
Yo, this is... I don't even know what to say about this. This is insane.
Counselor contacted the authorities. The FBI got involved. Within days, Bobby Hernandez was arrested for kidnapping his own son. The case became national news. Julian finally knew the truth. He was actually kidnapped.
Julian Hernandez discovered he'd been missing for 13 years, kidnapped from Alabama by his father, Bobby, and given a new name.
After 13 years, Julian and his mother were finally reunited. Bobby, on the other hand, faced the consequences. In March 2016, Bobby pleaded guilty.
I accept full responsibility for everything I did.
Before the judge gave her verdict, Julian asked for mercy for his father.
He's raised me well, in my opinion, pushed me far in school, and he's the reason why I get some of the best grades in school. And
he begged the judge to keep his father out of prison, but the court decided Bobby still had to face punishment and went to prison.
Hernandez received 4 years out of a possible 54 years in prison.
I offer my apologies to my son.
After the sentencing, Julian moved forward with his life.
Yeah, I mean, the dad definitely loves him, but it's still it's fucked up.
He went to college and reconnected with his mother. Up next is a case where the missing child absolutely did not want to be found. The girl who survived by playing video games.
Yeah. What? What do you mean?
This child went missing because of money. Her name was Xiao Yun, and she lived in China in 2005. When Yun was 14, she asked her dad for money to buy something. He refused and accused her of lying. Yun was a bit of a troublemaker. She often fought with her parents. She even ran away several times. So when her father refused to give her the money, she ran away again. But this time, she didn't come back. Her family reported her missing. Years passed with no sign of her. Eventually, her parents believed she was dead. But Xiao Yun was alive. She just disliked her parents so much that she preferred living on the streets. Over time, she got really good at surviving on her own. Xiao Yun slept in internet cafes and bathhouses. She even discovered a clever way to make money.
Xiao Yun was very good at an online game called Crossfire, and that's how she made her money. Other customers at the internet cafes would pay her to watch her play the game.
When she needed to pay for anything, she used a fake ID. She did not want to be found. And for 10 years, no one found her. Then she slipped up. In 2015, Xiao Yun was 24. One day, she was sitting in her usual internet cafe when police walked in. They were carrying out a routine inspection on the people inside. These checks are common in China. During the inspection, police discovered that Xiao Yun was using a fake ID. They suspected she might be involved in a crime, so they took her in for questioning.
Xiao Yun didn't tell the police much, but they checked the missing persons database and realized she matched the description of a woman who had disappeared 10 years earlier.
After some pressure, she reluctantly admitted who she was. Police contacted her parents with the good news. Their long-lost daughter was alive, but Xiao Yun refused to meet her parents, even after 10 years apart. After some convincing, she eventually agreed. Xiao Yun's mom was so happy to
all because they didn't give you like $20.
See her. She seemed willing to do anything to make Xiao Yun feel comfortable at home. Her mother said, "I have a quicker temper. I had indeed scolded her before, but after 10 years, she is grown up now. I will not tell her off again." The family was back together. However, the police didn't let Xiao Yun off the hook. They fined her for using a fake ID. After that, very little was reported about Xiao Yun's.
Bro, I promise it's not that serious.
We can only hope she found peace with her family. This next missing child woke up in another country, waking up in Mexico. A lot of teenagers go to parties, but when Connie McAllister showed up at one, she was kidnapped. And the man who abducted her was her own boyfriend. Here's what we know of the situation. It happened in 2004. 16-year-old...
Okay, like, you see what I mean? Like, y'all make it so fucking hard.
Connie McAllister was dating a man named Freddie Ruiz. Freddie was 22, which meant he was an adult. The age gap made the relationship inappropriate. One evening, the couple went to a party in Milwaukee. At some point during the night, Connie phoned her sister. She sounded frightened. Connie said she wanted to leave the party, but Freddie would not let her go. Then the call ended. Connie never returned home. Her family quickly reported her missing. A few days later, something strange happened. Connie called her family again, but this time Freddie was on the phone too. Connie and Freddie reportedly said they were fine and they weren't going to reveal where they were. That conversation only made the situation more confusing. The police kept searching for the couple. Detectives suspected that Connie and Freddie crossed the border into Mexico, but no one knew exactly where they were. So here's what really happened during the night Connie disappeared. That night, she and Freddie were at a party together. Then Freddie got a wild idea. He wanted Connie all to himself, so he took action. Freddie sedated Connie and took her to Mexico against her will. According to reports, Connie woke up in Mexico with Freddie. Freddie expected them to live as a couple, but Freddie wasn't a great partner. He became violent. At one point, Connie ended up in a hospital. Eventually, Connie managed to escape from him, but escaping Freddie didn't mean she was safe. She was still stuck in a foreign country, and without knowledge of the Spanish language, she was unable to contact her family in the United States. Over time, Connie got involved with another man in Mexico. Unfortunately, that was also a mistake because he was just as bad as Freddie.
Oh my god, like, this is what I mean. Y'all make it so fucking hard.
She had to leave that man as well. Her life became a struggle for survival. To get by, Connie worked as a field hand, basically doing physical labor. But during that difficult time, she finally met a man who treated her with kindness. She married him, and they had 3 kids. But even as her life slowly stabilized, one problem remained. Connie was still stuck in Mexico, and she still wanted to return home. In 2013, Connie turned 25. That year, she met a church missionary in Mexico. Connie told him her story. The missionary then contacted the Center for Missing Children in America. 9 years had passed since Connie was taken, so she looked very different.
9 years.
But the organization was still able to confirm who she was. The news spread quickly.
A Wisconsin woman who was abducted back in August 2004 at the age of 16 has been found living in Mexico with her 3 children.
Connie's family was overjoyed. They partnered with a local church to raise money to bring her home. The U.S. State Department helped complete the necessary paperwork. And just like that, Connie was heading home. She left home as a teenager and returned as a mother of 3. It's unclear if Freddie was ever charged for what he did to Connie. However, reports indicate he was wanted by police for other crimes. This next child was missing for years, but it turned out that he was really close to home the whole time. The missing boy from Missouri. In 2002, 11-year-old Sean Hornbeck was riding his bike when he...
He's homophobic, though.
Was kidnapped. It happened so fast. A white truck came out of nowhere and sped toward Sean, striking him. The driver was a man named Michael Devlin. Devlin got out of the truck, acting concerned. Once he was close enough, he forced Sean onto his truck. Then he sped away. Sean's parents reported him missing. He disappeared in Rich Woods, Missouri. Police and volunteers searched for weeks, but they found nothing, not even Sean's bike. With no leads, the case went cold. Still, Sean's parents refused to give up. They spent their savings on private investigators. They even started a foundation to help find other missing kids. At one point, they even consulted a psychic. She said their son was no longer alive. She even described where his body supposedly was.
These stupid boulders sitting there.
And he could be found near
He's near the boulders. Is he still with us?
I don't believe in psychics because they're not fucking real, and I'm not stupid. This woman is a fucking asshole for doing this. Like, you're posing as a sidekick and giving these parents hope. Like, sidekicks who do this are such terrible people.
See the bicycle anywhere?
But the psychic was lying because Sean was still alive and he was closer than anyone thought. After the kidnapping, Devlin took Sean to an apartment just 1 hour from his home. Sean was 11. He was old enough to sneak out and ask someone for help, but Devlin made sure that never happened. He used force and intimidation tactics to control Sean and keep him afraid. Sean believed the threats Devlin made. Over time, he became too afraid to escape. For the next 4 years, Sean lived under Devlin's control. Devlin even told people Sean was his son, but behind closed doors, Devlin mistreated him. Sometimes Sean was allowed to go outside and play, but the fear of what Devlin might do kept him from escaping. Then in 2007, Devlin kidnapped another boy. Now there were 2 captives in his apartment, but this time someone saw the abduction. The witness described Devlin's truck to the police.
I seen a white Nissan pickup sideways in the road, and it took off flying down the hill. And
Hey, yo, someone was kidnapped, bro. Get a grip. Why are you all smiles?
Pulled in my neighbor's driveway.
Police traced the truck back to Michael Devlin. During questioning, he was extremely nervous. Eventually, Devlin broke down. He admitted to kidnapping Sean Hornbeck along with the second boy. Police found the boys playing video games in Devlin's apartment. The officer said that he was running straight for the door like he was ready to leave. Sean and the other boy were returned to their families. Meanwhile, Devlin was charged with kidnapping and attempted murder. He received 20 consecutive life terms. He wasn't getting out anytime soon. This next child solved the case of her own kidnapping. The stolen baby. In 1987, a baby vanished from a New York hospital. Investigators searched for the kidnapper but came up empty. 23 years later, that baby grew up and solved the case herself.
23? Oh my God.
Her name was Carlina White. About 2 weeks after she was born, she developed a dangerously high fever. Her parents rushed her to Harlem Hospital for emergency care. Doctors treated the baby and said they wanted to keep her overnight. The parents agreed, but it was a decision they would regret for the rest of their lives. At first, Carlina's parents stayed in the hospital instead of going home, but a strange woman approached them. She was wearing a nurse uniform.
Some random woman in white came up to her and comforted her. She was telling her everything was going to be okay.
A mysterious nurse convinced the parents to go home and rest. Reluctantly, they agreed and walked out. Around 2 a.m., the hospital changed shifts. For that brief moment, the ward had less security. That was when the woman in the nurse's outfit grabbed the baby and walked out. Around 5 a.m., hospital staff noticed...
Like, what? Okay, all of these cases, except for one of them, the kidnappers, like, weren't abusing the children. They're just raising them. Why do you want to steal a kid just to raise it? What is the fucking point?
Carlina's crib was empty. The hospital immediately called the police. Carlina's parents were told to return right away. When they arrived, they described the nurse who convinced them to leave. That gave the police hope. In many kidnappings, no one sees the kidnapper, but this time they saw the culprit's face. All the police had to do was find that woman. Easier said than done.
There was tons of sniffing dogs, detectives, helicopters, whole 9 yards, and they had a big meeting with the whole hospital staff.
Despite the massive search, nothing turned up. Soon, hope turned into frustration. The police did not have a single suspect. Carlina was officially listed as a missing child. A poster with her baby photo was shared online. Over time, the world moved on, but Carlina's parents never forgot. Meanwhile, the woman who took Carlina felt she got away with it. The kidnapper's name was Ann Petway, and she took the baby for a very strange reason. For a long time, Ann was miserable. She desperately wanted a child, but she experienced multiple miscarriages. Eventually, she accepted she might never bear children. Adopting a child was possible, but she...
Yeah, so let's just kidnap one? What the fuck is your reasoning here?
Didn't want to do that for some reason. She decided to steal one, so she put on a nurse uniform, fooled worried parents, and took baby Carlina. Then she traveled to Connecticut and raised the child as her own.
Anne would claim that this baby girl was her own and name her Nedra, who would go on to be called Nettie for short.
The child Carlina grew up believing Anne was her mom. However, there were moments when she wondered if Petway was her real mother, mainly because Carlina didn't see a physical resemblance at all. In 2005, Carlina was 18 years old and pregnant. She visited the clinic and was told to bring her birth certificate so she could apply for health insurance. But there was a problem, and Petway never actually gave birth to her. There was no real birth certificate, so Anne created a fake one and gave it to Carlina. But that only made things things worse. Carlina submitted the document and was told it was forged. She went home furious and confronted Anne. The argument became intense. Eventually, Anne admitted that she was not Carlina's biological mother. However, she did not admit to kidnapping. Instead,
23 years later,
she claimed Carlina was abandoned by a drug addict. Carlina did not believe the story. Months later, Carlina gave birth to her own daughter. Then she decided to find the truth about her real parents. In 2010, she began looking through missing children websites.
I just started typing in Yahoo and Google, like different articles, like anything that pulled up in 1987, which any child missing.
Eventually, she found a massive clue. It was a missing child photo from 1987. The image was on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The baby in the photo looked just like Carlina's own newborn daughter. Carlina called the center's hotline. The organization contacted Carlina's biological parents. DNA tests were done. The results confirmed the truth. Carlina was their daughter. In early 2011, she met her biological parents for the first time. Not long after, police issued a warrant for Anne Petway's arrest. She was convicted and jailed.
Anne Petway, who posed as a nurse at a Harlem hospital in 1987 and stole a baby girl from an unsuspecting mother, was sentenced to 12 years in prison.
Carlina was angry about being stolen.
Yeah, fuck to that, I guess.
As a baby, but despite everything, she chose to stay in touch with the woman who stole her and raised her. Carlina later said she writes to Anne in prison and their relationship is complicated. Some of these children were missing for over a decade, not found by detectives, but by ordinary people paying attention. My friends, you don't have to be a hero to change someone's life. You just have to care enough to look twice. Visual Venture.
Yeah, that video was fucking insane. Like, bro, why do you want to kidnap a kid just to raise the kid? Like, it's so fucking weird to me. There was only one kidnapper in that whole video that was actually like abusing the kids. The rest of them was just raising them. What? Why? What's your obsession? I've been great, Bentley. Bentley, I'm not gonna read your chats while I'm doing a reaction video. Okay, he's getting mad at me for not reading his chats, but let me read you the 4 he typed. Yo, read chat, bitch. L streamer, part-timer. Like, I'm not gonna fucking read those in the middle of a reaction, bro. I'm sorry. I've been great, Bentley. I'm doing awesome. Let's move on to the next video. The most dangerous female spy in history. Let's watch this. Let's see what divas are up to.
Friday, September 21, 2001 began like any other day for Ana Montez. She got into her Toyota and made the usual 25-minute drive to the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon's top spy agency where she served as a lead analyst on Cuba. But this was no ordinary day. What she didn't realize was that undercover FBI agents were following her. The US government had finally uncovered the truth after 17 years. Ana Montez, the woman shaping intelligence on Cuba, had been secretly working for them all along. This is the story.
Oh shit.
Of the damage she did and how the most dangerous female spy was finally brought down. Ana Montez was born on February 28, 1957 in Nuremberg, West Germany, where her Puerto Rican father, Alberto, served as an army doctor stationed at the Grafenwehr Army Base. The family moved to Topeka, Kansas the following year after Dr. Montez was accepted into the Menninger School of Psychiatry, then one of the top psychiatric programs in the country. Dr. Menninger preached the value of a loving family, that Alberto ruled his own with fear. One of the earliest signs of his cruelty was when Ana developed asthma as a child.
Instead of treating her and giving her the help that she needed to breathe, sat her down and watched his daughter gasping for breath and tried to treat it as a psychiatrist would, not as a medical doctor.
Investigative journalist Jim Popkins spent 15 years uncovering the story of Ana Montez, detailed in his book, Codename Blue Wren.
Her father, he started using the belt to discipline the kids as early as age
fucking stupid
5.
When Ana was 15, her parents divorced. Her mother, Amelia, began asserting her independence and became increasingly outspoken, especially in her opposition to U.S. funding for the Contras, who were fighting the socialist Sandinista government in Nicaragua. Ana later said she had spied to stand up for the oppressed. While at university, she spent her junior year abroad in Madrid during a historic upheaval. The death of dictator Francisco Franco marked the end of nearly 4 decades of authoritarian rule, ushering in a wave of democratic reforms. The streets filled with protests, many targeting the United States, which had supported Franco's regime. In the Spanish capital, Ana fell in love with Ricardo Fernández Ires, a left-leaning Argentinian living in political exile. Their long conversations of American imperialism shaped her belief that the U.S. acted as a global bully. After graduating,
She's not all wrong.
took a clerk typist job at the Department of Justice in December 1979, and at the same time enrolled in a master's at Johns Hopkins University's School of Advanced International Studies, SAIS, where she specialized in Latin American affairs. At SAIS, Ana befriended Marta Velázquez, a fellow Puerto Rican who was secretly scouting sympathetic students as potential recruits for Cuban intelligence. When Marta asked Ana if she'd be willing to help the Sandinistas by translating Spanish articles, Ana sensed it was a cover for something more and said yes, reflecting, "I hadn't thought about actually doing anything until I was propositioned. Once offered the opportunity to help illegally, it would be more than I could do legally." In March 1985, she and Velázquez traveled secretly to Havana using fake passports, where Cuba's intelligence service, the DGI, trained her in the basics of spycraft. She learned how to lose a tail, how to communicate in code, and how to beat a polygraph. One trick involves clenching your anal sphincter while telling the truth and relaxing it when lying, an odd but effective way to control physiological signals. The Cubans wanted Ana to infiltrate the U.S. intelligence community and urged her to apply for a job in the Defense Intelligence Agency. In September 1985, Ana Montes joined the DIA as an entry-level analyst. She falsely claimed she'd graduated from Johns Hopkins when in reality she never completed her degree, and denied ever using drugs despite doing cocaine while working at the DOJ and attending grad school. The DIA didn't administer a polygraph. It was scrambling to fill positions amid the Reagan administration's push to expand intelligence operations in Latin America. The same year she joined the DIA, Ana's younger sister also began a career in government. Lucy Montes joined the FBI's Miami office as a Spanish-language translator, working on wiretap translations for organized crime and drug investigation. Their brother, Tito, also became an FBI special agent, but her family would never suspect a thing. 4 months after starting at the DIA, Montes was granted authorized access to highly sensitive, classified information related to national security. Montes memorized everything she read, so she never removed a single document from work.
And I was able to go through her bookcase, and one of the books that I found was a memory training book, and it was underlined and highlighted. So clearly she was trying to improve her memory.
Each night, she went home and typed up the classified information on her Toshiba laptop and then transferred it onto encrypted floppy disks. The Cubans would communicate with her through shortwave radio broadcasts. For example, every Saturday at 9, Montes tuned in to a certain frequency where a woman's voice would call out,
"Atención, atención.
followed by a string of numbers.
701-346-25859.
She jotted down the numbers on water-soluble paper, then used a decryption program stored on a floppy disk, along with a cheat sheet, to turn the digits into messages from her Cuban handlers. After receiving her instructions, she'd meet her handler at a DC restaurant and pass the discs between bites of Chinese food. While secretly feeding intelligence to the Cubans, she was rising fast at the DIA, becoming the principal analyst for Nicaragua and El Salvador, 2 Cold War hotspots. In 1987, she visited a US-backed military base in El Salvador, where she was briefed on sensitive operations and security, details that would have been a goldmine for America's enemies. Just weeks after her visit, rebels ambushed the base, killing 42 Salvadorian soldiers and a US military advisor, 27-year-old Staff Sergeant Gregory Fronius, a Green Beret. The FBI pressed her about that trip years later, but she was never charged. During a routine background check in 1991, Montes admitted to lying about her past drug use and falsely claimed to have completed her master's degree. Instead of facing consequences, an adjudicator let it slide, thinking she had learned her lesson and this happened years ago. When she finally took her first
Okay, look, I know she's like the bad guy, but she's kind of a fucking diva.
polygraph in 1994, she passed. Investigators later came to believe she used the same muscle control trick she'd learned in Havana. By the time of her polygraph, she had become the DIA's lead analyst on Cuba, her dream job, a role that gave her direct access to the secrets Havana cared most about. Montes exposed the identity of a covert American officer en route to Cuba, allowing Cuban agents to intercept him. The Cubans let Montez know, "We were waiting here for him with open arms." Montez later admitted to exposing 4 American intelligence officers working undercover in the island nation. For nearly a decade, no one had any idea what she was really up to, until an incident in 1996. On February 24, 1996, Cuban MiG-29 jets shot down 2 unarmed civilian planes flown by the exile group Brothers to the Rescue. The group had provoked the regime by dropping anti-Castro leaflets over Havana. 3 Americans and a U.S. resident were killed. Montez was quickly summoned to the Pentagon to brief the Joint Chiefs of Staff on Cuba's military capabilities. This was supposed to be the defining moment of her career, and yet she decided to leave work early. According to a coworker, Montez should have worked until 10 p.m., but received a phone call, became visibly agitated, and left early at 8 p.m. Montez met with her Cuban handler multiple times that week. The Cubans were desperate to know if the U.S. was preparing to retaliate. A counterintelligence analyst at the DIA grew suspicious of her and tipped off Scott Carmichael, a former police officer turned DIA spy hunter, who brought Montez in for what she believed was routine questioning. When Carmichael accused her of being a spy, she didn't deny it. Carmichael described to Jim Popkin how that entire time she was just scared to death and just staring at me. And I mean, I felt like she was staring at my lips to catch every word. She insisted no one called her at the Pentagon and that she left early because she was tired and hungry. Her answers didn't sit right with Carmichael, but he didn't have enough proof. The case was quietly closed and her espionage continued. In
she's really good at manipulating people.
1997, Montez is believed to have exposed a top-secret, multi-billion-dollar U.S. satellite program called Misty. Misty appeared to be a regular communication satellite to America's enemies, rather than what it actually was, a satellite designed to capture high-resolution images from space. She also tipped off the Cubans about an FBI surveillance van with a slightly raised roof concealing hidden antennas that was eavesdropping near Cuba's de facto embassy in Washington. As she impressed her bosses in Havana, she was also winning over her superiors in Washington, racking up accolades for her intelligence, expertise, and work ethic.
Yo, she's a fucking badass. I know she's a bad person and everything, but this is crazy. This is crazy, and there's a fucking...
If you're so profitable, why do you sell a course? Well, you know what? Here you go. I don't care.
Because you want more money. You're greedy. I know why. I know why. Why is this ad so long? Get on with it, bro.
Known as the Queen of Cuba, but even queens can't rule forever. By 1998, the cracks in Ana Montez's double life were beginning to show, ironically because of her sister. By coincidence, Lucy was assigned to the FBI unit in Miami that helped take down a major Cuban spy ring known as the WASP network.
What an op.
The amount of information the FBI seized from floppy disks and intercepted radio messages filled 1,400 pages. Montez's handler abruptly cut off contact. The regime couldn't take the risk. From now on, meetings would be overseas, usually in the Caribbean. The silence devastated her. Montez had no friends, no one to confide in. 2 of her siblings worked for the FBI.
She started showering obsessively, eating only boiled potatoes, wearing gloves when she drove. A lot of OCD, odd behavior, and it's because all the pressure that ironically her sister had helped to contribute to with the arrests in Miami.
As Montez spiraled under pressure, a determined government employee was carefully connecting the dots. Known in codename Blue Wren as Elena Valdez, not her real name, she was an analyst at the NSA who had become convinced that a Cuban spy was operating deep inside the U.S. government. Her suspicions were based on intercepted communications and intel from the Miami arrests. Valdez had fled Castro's Cuba as a child with her family.
So this was personal for her. She was a dog with a bone, and she needed to solve this.
The NSA had a profile of them all. The suspect was someone who had purchased a Toshiba laptop to communicate with the Cubans, visited the U.S. military base at Guantanamo Bay in July 1996, had access to something labeled SAFE, and met with someone important with the initials WD. Valdez shared her leads with the FBI, and Special Agent Steve McCoy was assigned to the case. He investigated for 2 years, but made little progress. Valdez became frustrated because she didn't think the FBI was taking the case seriously, so she went over the FBI's head and brought the case to the DIA.
She was threatened with being fired. She was threatened with being jailed for essentially doing her job and trying to find a spy.
When Valdez mentioned to the DIA that the Cubans had repeatedly referenced the word safe, Chris Simmons, a veteran DIA Cuba analyst, realized safe wasn't a physical safe. It was the DIA's internal communication system. Simmons passed the lead to Scott Carmichael, the DIA investigator who once questioned Montez. He and his partner began digging into one clue in particular. The suspect had visited Guantanamo Bay in July 1996. A search of internal travel records pulled up about 100 names, and one of them was Ana Montez. When the DIA alerted the FBI, Agent McCoy brushed off their suspicions, saying, "I've got no reason to believe that the person I'm looking for is a female." The idea of a woman being the mole simply wasn't on their radar. But Carmichael connected
She looks
one
like
other
such a
detail in the
normal
mole's
person.
profile, the initials WD. He remembered Montez had boasted about working with William Doherty, the FBI's chief of counterintelligence. The FBI finally opened an investigation into Montez, codenamed Blue Wren. Agents began quietly tailing her, catching her using payphones to dial Cuban pagers. Around the same time, Montez considered walking away from her life as a Cuban spy. She wanted to build a life with Roger Corneretto, a Pentagon official who ran a Cuban intelligence program at U.S. Southern Command, a major military installation in Florida. But Cuba refused to let her go. Montez was devastated. "I'm a human being with needs that I couldn't deny. I thought the Cubans would understand." Her romantic relationship didn't survive. The FBI got a major break when Agent Peter Lapp obtained a subpoena for Montez's credit records. He spotted a line of credit from a CompUSA computer store in Alexandria, Virginia. He and Special Agent McCoy began pulling old paper sales records from computer stores across the DC area and discovered Montez had purchased a Toshiba laptop, just like the one the mole was believed to be using. On May 25, 2001, the FBI broke into her apartment when she was out of town. They found the Toshiba laptop, and when they copied the hard drive, they discovered messages between Montez and her Cuban handlers, including evidence that she had exposed the true identity of a U.S. intelligence officer undercover in Cuba. The FBI had enough to arrest her, but they wanted more proof. They wanted the floppy disks Montez used to decrypt Havana's radio broadcasts, which they couldn't find in her apartment. So they hatched a plan to get her hands on the one thing she always kept close, her purse. As detailed in codename Blue Wren, on August 16, 2001, the DIA staged a last-minute intelligence briefing just one floor from Montez's desk, close enough that she might leave her purse behind. And sure enough, she did. To get the analyst who sat next to Montez away from his desk, he was told someone had hid his van in the parking lot and driven off. Then, FBI Agent McCoy, posing as an IT technician, entered Montez's cubicle and grabbed her purse. They didn't find the floppy disks, but they did find more damning evidence inside. Prepaid calling cards used at payphones, a New York pager number linked to Cuban intelligence, and handwritten numeric codes used to send messages to her handler's pager. In the days after 9/11, the DIA feared Montez might leak sensitive military information to Cuba, so they wanted her arrested as soon as possible. Friday, September 21, 2001 seemed like any other day for Ana Montez. She got into her car and drove her usual route to work, unaware that FBI agents were tailing her. When she arrived, Montez received a call regarding a supposed time card issue involving one of her employees and was asked to resolve it with the Inspector General's office. But the meeting was a trap. Waiting for her inside the conference room were FBI Special Agents Steve McCoy and Peter Lapp.
They're on some Patrick James shit.
When they handcuffed her, she barely reacted. Lapp later said, "We figured she would just kind of collapse, be a wreck. She walked out that calm, I won't say proud, but with that kind of composure." Ana Montez's family sold off assets to help pay for her legal defense, hiring Plato Caceres, one of Washington's most renowned attorneys. Caceres had represented two of the most infamous double agents, Robert Hansen, who spied from inside the FBI, and Aldrich Ames, who sold secrets while working at the CIA. I made videos of them linked in my description. Hansen and Ames were driven by greed, but Ana Montez didn't spy for money. On October 16, 2002, she stood before a judge and explained why she betrayed her country. An Italian proverb perhaps best describes the fundamental truth I believe in. All the world is one country. It is a principle that, tragically, I believe we have never applied to Cuba. Your Honor, I engaged in the activity that brought me before you because I obeyed my conscience rather than the law. I believe our government's policy towards Cuba is cruel and unfair, profoundly unneighborly, and I felt morally obligated to help the island defend itself from our efforts to impose our values and our political system on it. My way of responding to our Cuban policy may have been morally wrong. Perhaps Cuba's right to exist free of political and economic coercion did not justify giving the island classified information to help it defend itself. I can only say that I did what I thought right to counter a grave injustice. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy to
Yeah, I don't think she's too wrong here. I kind of agree with her.
commit espionage and was sentenced to 25 years behind bars.
What?
But instead of the low security facility her defense and the judge requested, Montez was sent to a high security wing of Federal Medical Center Carlsbad in Texas, home to violent female inmates, including an Al-Qaeda operative and a woman who murdered a pregnant woman and stole her baby. Montez was confined to her cell, ate alone, and was isolated from the general prison population. She described the experience as a psychological hell. While in prison, she wrote her sister Lucy a condescending letter suggesting she see a psychologist to deal with rage toward their mother. Lucy snapped back in response, in a letter later published in codename Blue Wren. "You should know you ruined Mom's life. Every morning she wakes up devastated by what you did and where you are."
She's not wrong though.
Every
Like,
night she goes to bed
I don't know. I
I've
don't
heard her
know.
cry because of you. It's not enough that her parents and only brother all died before she was 30, or that she was married to a violent man for 16 years and raised 4 children by herself. No, you had to ruin her final years. She should be living in peace and contentment. You betrayed your family. You betrayed all your friends. There is no forgiveness for what you did. And you betrayed your nation. You helped our enemies. You are a coward. You could have.
I definitely disagree with coward. That's just entirely inaccurate.
Stood up for your principles.
This woman's a diva.
Openly, but you hid like a coward to punish them in secret. Why did you really do what you did? Because it made you feel powerful. Yes, Anna, you wanted to feel powerful. You're no altruist. It wasn't the greater good you were concerned for. It was yourself. The CIA concluded in a psychological profile of Montez that her difficult childhood shaped her worldview and made her more susceptible to recruitment. Ana Belén Montez's childhood experiences, family relationships, and arrested psychological development contributed to her ideological and moral development and increased her vulnerability to recruitment by a foreign intelligence service. Ana Montez walked free on January 8, 2023, after serving over 21 years with credit for good behavior. She currently lives in Puerto Rico. Ana Montez fooled U.S. intelligence for nearly 2 decades, and the only way investigators finally uncovered her secret was through methodical, logical thinking. That's exactly the kind of thinking you'll build with Brilliant. Brilliant is the app.
Oh, it's a fucking ad again. Oh, that's the end of the video. Okay. It was alright. It was kind of boring, but I mean, she's a diva, so that's cool. Next video. This one's long. This one's 30 minutes. This is the last video of the day. These nerdy students took Vegas for millions. I'm hyped for this one.
In the corner of the smoky casino floor, a young woman in a sleek dress casually flipped her chips on the blackjack table, while a teammate, disguised
Fuck, I need to go gambling again, bro.
in a wheelchair, pretended to roll by. They exchanged only the faintest nod. To onlookers, it was meaningless. To the MIT blackjack team, it was a green light to go all in. Across the room, a dealer glanced up suspiciously. He'd seen plenty of big bettors, but something about these college kids was off. He could swear he saw this guy before, but walking. Even stranger, they placed huge bets at exactly the right moment, time and time again. The truth was, these students weren't relying on luck. They had mathematics on their side, had come up with an advanced system, secret signals, disguises, and meticulously rehearsed drills. Everything they needed to beat the house and walk away with a fortune. They had to be careful. One wrong move and the entire table could be blacklisted from every casino in Vegas. In a single weekend, they could pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars. And before anyone could catch on, these nerdy college kids would already be boarding a red-eye back to class in Cambridge for Monday morning. Little did the casinos know this was only...
I mean, they're not bad guys here. Yo, low-key, fuck casinos. Like, they deliberately ruin people's lives just to get more money for themselves. Casinos fucking suck.
The beginning of one of the most successful card counting operations the gambling world had ever seen.
Hell yeah.
JP Master and his group of friends were all enrolled in the course, How to Gamble If You Must, at the prestigious MIT. The class was dedicated to, quote, demystifying the casino through statistics.
Okay, why is this a class?
While the main focus was more about logic and numbers than gambling, JP and friends emerged really only caring about one thing: winning. See, the professor had told them how bad of an idea gambling was because statistically the odds are not in your favor. Some games are worse than others, but on average, only 95 to 80% of the player's money is ever actually returned to them. For every dollar
holy shit
you get in, you get 80 cents back. But he said that one game could be different. Blackjack. It was theoretically possible that a player could win consistently, but only if they had the right strategy. JP was skeptical of this professor's claim. It sounded too good to be true. He needed cold, hard proof. Luckily, JP was a grad student, earning his master's in computer science, so he headed down to the Lincoln Lab in Lexington, which at the time was home to a giant mainframe computer. He spent a long time writing a program to model the professor's theory and to run a Monte Carlo experiment against it. Essentially, play hundreds of thousands of hands of blackjack automatically using this system to see what the outcome would be, and he came to a shocking realization. If you did play enough hands with enough players willing to signal other players about their hands, it was possible for the player to win more hands than they would lose, i.e., he could make a lot of money. But JP knew this was still just a theory. Just because it worked on the computer didn't mean that it would actually work in practice. There's a lot of other factors that exist in a real casino that his program couldn't account for. This meant that in order to
like the casino literally sending people to your table just to stop you from winning.
Test the theory, they'd need to hit up the casinos and put their own money on the line. So JP used his findings to convince his ragtag team of fellow MIT students to pack up their bags and head down to the Las Vegas of the East Coast, Atlantic City. We are going to be millionaires, the students thought to themselves as they entered the casino capital of New Jersey. But unfortunately, didn't work out as planned. The unorganized group of students lost just about everything they walked in with. Following the trip, many of these guys gave up blackjack. They graduated, left MIT, went on with their lives, but not JP. Instead, he stayed in Cambridge and continued to pursue blackjack and the art of card counting. He knew he had something special here, but now he had another problem. He didn't have a team. So he decided to start his own blackjack course. He plastered posters around campus, hoping to attract new players. What he didn't expect was to catch the eye of a professional poker player named Dave. Dave offered to give JP $5,000 to go back to Atlantic City one more time to test out their theory. So once again, JP and whatever MIT students he could find made the trek down in December of '79. And the timing couldn't be any more perfect because the New Jersey Casino Commission had just recently made it illegal for Atlantic City casinos to ban card counters. So if JP and his friends started earning too much money, the casinos couldn't stop them from coming back. And this trip was much more promising than the first. So the group went back home, heads a little higher this time, and continued to pick up players during the January class that JP was teaching. They continued to go back and play for the rest of that semester, took the $5,000 they started with and turned it into $20,000, which wasn't too shabby. But at this point, the group was less of a team and more like random people playing blackjack while using similar strategies and sharing money. There was no structure, no real consistency, but that was all about to change when JP met a man named Bill Kaplan. Bill Kaplan was a fellow blackjack player. When he read a book about card counting, he decided to take a gap year from Harvard Business School to test out his mathematical model in Sin City. He traveled there with just $2,000 to his name. When he came back 9 months later, had $40,000. But Harvard Business School didn't want him back. They had caught wind of all his degenerate gambling and decided to revoke his acceptance. But Bill wasn't one to take no for an answer, so he fought the school, saying that this wasn't gambling at all. Quote, "We've analyzed the game down to the point that there's no risk. If you play this right, you have the advantage. Therefore, it's no different than any other business." I don't know if Bill was lucky or just one heck of a salesman, but Harvard heard him out. He managed to convince them that his interest in gambling was not just a dangerous hobby, but instead an academic pursuit. He went on to graduate from Harvard with his business degree, but the whole time he kept up with this blackjack hobby. One evening, Bill was in a Chinese restaurant in Cambridge when JP overheard him talking about his time in Sin City. Immediately, JP approached Bill to chat about their shared interest in card counting, only to learn that Bill was up to the same thing. He was already managing a successful card counting team. The two realized they had a symbiotic relationship going on. Bill understood business and managing people, and JP, he was a computer science guy. He knew about math and creating algorithms and running statistical models. Soon enough, JP was asking Bill to help manage his own team of MIT students. He invited Bill to one of their Atlantic City runs so he could get a chance to see how their team was currently working. Bill quickly realized that they needed a lot of work. Everyone was using their own strategies, and instead of focusing on beating the casino, they were all arguing on whose system was more effective. Nonetheless, Bill could tell that this team had a lot of potential, so he agreed to help manage them, but with one catch. The team had to become a lot more organized. No more individual methods, no more complicated theories. The team needed to stick to one strategy and get really good at it. This was a huge change for a team that was previously very relaxed and low-key. A lot of the members weren't exactly very happy with the new structure, but they decided to take the chance on Bill and a stricter way of running things. And thus, the MIT Blackjack team was officially formed. The new and improved MIT Blackjack team officially started.
How much did they how much do you think they won? I kind of want to guess. 5 mil. I think 5 mil.
80. They had 10 players and $89,000 to play with. The money was collected from both outside investors and the players. Within the
They got investors in this too? Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, they made bank.
3 months, they managed to double that investment. This meant they were profiting $162 an hour. In their model, they had projected a rate of $170 an hour. They were right on target. Per the terms of the investment offering, players and investors split the profit, with players paid in proportion to their playing hours and computer-simulated win rates. The players, mostly undergraduates, earned on average over $80 an hour, while investors, adjusted for an annualized return rate, were making over
I'm in the wrong business.
250% on their investment. Clearly, this team was onto something big. Within 4 years, they had grown to 35 players and had a capitalization of $350,000. But the casinos were starting to catch on to the Dream Team, forcing Bill Kaplan to come to an early retirement. It got to the point where he was followed around every casino.
The scariest time for me was when I was actually out in Las Vegas, and this was late 1970s, when the casinos were at that time not public companies yet. And I was playing in one of the casinos and winning pretty heavily. And the pit boss came up to me and taps me on the shoulder, and he says, you know, you've got some pretty nice hands there. And I said, yeah, I guess I'm just getting pretty lucky, you know, I don't know, I just seem to be pulling some great hands. And he says, no, I don't mean your cards, I'm talking about your hands. And I kind of looked at him like, honestly, I had no idea what he was saying, and he said, you know, if you had no fingers, you'd have a pretty hard time playing this game, wouldn't you? And honestly, I was just out of college, and I kind of looked at him and just got out of there as fast as I could.
So he hung up his gambling hat. He was going to focus exclusively on real estate investing. But just because Bill was down for the count doesn't mean the rest of the team gave up. They just had to get a little more creative, be a little more careful. Leadership was handed over to JP along with John Chang and Bill Rubin. Over 70 people played on the MIT Blackjack team between 1979 and 1989. At times, the return on investment hit 300%. Just to put that into perspective, a good stock investment returns only 10% a year, and even that's a little high. Now, unfortunately, the total profit during this time period has never been properly documented publicly, but it was clearly very lucrative, especially when you consider that this was the 80s. The average cost of a Big Mac was $1.50. But the
What the fuck?
The craziest part about all of this is that the MIT Blackjack team hadn't even reached the height of their potential yet.
That's the most damning thing this video has presented to me.
Because on February 15th, 1992, a brand new casino opened just across the Connecticut border, the Foxwood. This brand new casino was a huge deal. It was the first legal casino to open in Connecticut. And even more importantly for the MIT kids, it was only a 2-hour drive away from campus. Now that still seems like a long time to drive to a casino, but up to this point, they had been spending up to 7 hours to go down to Atlantic City or taking actual cross-country trips to Sin City. This was the perfect storm for the MIT Blackjack team. With this news, JP Master and veteran member John Chang re-engaged Bill Kaplan to help give the team an all-new structure. For this new run, they decided to form a limited partnership in April of '92 called Strategic Investments. Bill Kaplan structured this partnership similar to the real estate development limited partnerships that he knew and loved. 40 shares at $25,000 a pop for a total investment of $1 million. Friends and partners who had seen big returns on their previous
I changed my guess. They started off with $1 million. Yeah, no, they made like 20. They made a lot.
Investments lined up to fund this new company. There was just one thing missing: the players. Throughout the 80s, despite how well they were doing, the MIT Blackjack team suffered extreme burnout. Players again got bored with blackjack and wanted to do other things like actually start a family or put their MIT degrees to use. So JP, Bill, and John had to again recruit a lot of new people and fast. They put up flyers around campus advertising the blackjack team as the perfect summer job. The new structure did not require the students to put any money into the pot, so it was a great opportunity for college students who needed some extra cash. But joining the team was a lot harder than just attending a few meetings here and there. Each interested recruit had to prove their talent. Hours of daily practices for months on end. First, the players had to learn basic strategy, as first seen in Edward Thorpe's book, Beat the Dealer. Thorpe had come to his conclusions much like JP, through intense mathematics and computer analysis of the game, but it all boiled down to this chart right here, and this was the first thing the players had to memorize. It tells you what move you as the player should do in response to whatever card the dealer has drawn. But this, of course, wasn't the only strategy that the MIT Blackjack team employed. They're a lot more sophisticated than that. They also had to learn the high and low method of card counting. This also requires a bunch of mental math, but can be taught with this chart. It essentially boils down to keeping track of what cards have already been dealt and betting accordingly. If there's more low-value cards left in the deck, you bet less, and if there's more high-value cards left, you bet more. But believe it or not, memorizing all the charts and figuring out the math behind blackjack was the easy part. The hardest part of training was learning how to do it as a team. Only worked if it was done as a team. The members were split up into 3 different players: the big player, the controller, and the spotter. The spotter's job was to count the cards in the deck and wait for the count to be favorable to bet on. Then, he'll do some sort of obscure signal like adjust his tie or fix his hair in a certain way, a sign that only someone on the team could notice. Then, a controller, after noticing the signal, sits down to confirm the count. And finally, once the count is confirmed, they call in the big player. One of these was student Mike Aponte, then 22 years old. After perfecting the technique in empty classrooms, he was shocked to be handed $40,000 in cash to gamble with on behalf of the team. He was even more shocked to lose $10,000 in his very first 10 minutes at the blackjack table in Atlantic City as the big player. It was a
how the fuck do you lose $10,000 in 10 minutes?
Lesson in just how volatile blackjack could be, even with a scientifically proven system. But he continued to rely on the team's methods, placed big hands while the count was still favorable. By the end of the weekend, he was able to return to the college with a net profit of about $25,000.
Oh.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So once the card counting hopefuls had gone through these weeks of endless practice, they had to make one final test. Called it the checkout. It's pretty easy to learn how to count alone in a study room at the MIT library, but casinos have a completely different environment. Casinos are incredibly loud. The air is filled with cigarette smoke. When you're making big bets, you get a lot of attention. Everyone around you is drunk. Table is filled with people you don't know. All of these factors can throw off that really hard mental count. So the team will create a fake environment on campus to simulate the absolute worst scenarios you can come across at a blackjack table. They would blast music, have other players act as annoying Patreons and casino employees. The dealer would go as fast as possible. Then the players would have to accurately count cards and perform their role on top of that. If they could survive, they were
this is fucking genius, though.
Finally allowed to play with real money. This is where the newly opened Foxwood Casino comes in. They would bring newly approved players there to test their skills once and for all. It was the final step in their card counting journey. If they played well enough at Foxwood, they become official members of the MIT Blackjack team. With the new team officially recruited and trained, it was time to start their run, but they had one last problem to solve. Casinos were more privy to this stuff than ever, and they needed a way to not get caught like Bill. Now, you might imagine it was pretty hard for JP to write his program to simulate blackjack because coding is pretty hard to learn. Or at least you might think, because this is where today's sponsor comes in, BootDev. Would have taught me to conjure up this only programming course following this tutorial experience. So if I hand Smart a bit of BootDev game it
oh
when
my
you're
god, how long is it?
Together,
Holy shit!
Amazing, and then an amazing MIT Blackjack team finally kicked into overdrive. They weren't just playing blackjack, they were orchestrating legal weekend heists on the biggest casinos in the country. They had the math, the signals, the disguises, and $1 million bankroll on their side. On a Thursday afternoon, a dozen of the students were preparing for their first full-fledged trip to Sin City. One of the strictest...
Wait, 12 of them?
team rules was that the money was always transported on your person. You never ever let the money and you become physically separated. That's because once before, a student returning from a big gambling trip and going straight into a practice session at MIT put their brown paper lunch bag under their chair. 6 a.m. the next morning, Kaplan got a phone call. "You won't believe what I've done," the student said. "You know, I just came back from my big run and I had $125,000 in a paper bag. Well, I left it in the classroom, totally forgot about it. I just ran back and it's not there." It took 6 months and an investigation by the Drug Enforcement Administration and the FBI before the team eventually got their money back. Turns out that a cleaner had picked it up and put it in his locker. These students were trusted with a ton of money. The other big rule was not to drink. For new players, it was a culture shock to go from campus to Sin City. They had to stay focused, and for the students, it was no problem. They were mature, responsible. They had prepared for a long time to even be given this opportunity, and so they wanted to do well when they arrived. One of these students was Semyon Dukak. On campus, nobody would blink an eye at his usual turtleneck sweater, but out on his gambling trips, he'd be playing the part of a Russian arms dealer. That Thursday, Semyon headed out to Boston Logan Airport to catch an American West flight down to Las Vegas. The plan was to meet up with 4 other members at the Mirage Volcano around 10 p.m. that night, including Kate, who would be playing his fake girlfriend.
On my first trip to Vegas, I believe I actually flew out alone, and I met some people there. I remember that I had a heavy leather jacket with about 150,000.
What are we doing? What are we doing? There's no way there's anything that pressing.
$1,000 in cash in the pockets.
But when he arrived at the meeting spot, no one else was there. He realized something was wrong. After wandering the strip for over an hour, Semyon finally bumped into Kate. Turns out she had taken a later flight, but she wasn't sure about the other students. Either way, they quickly got to work. Joining the blackjack table as a couple, Semyon would quickly find an excuse to leave, asked to head to the bathroom. Then Kate would bet the minimum, $25 a hand, until the count was favorable. Semyon, who had been hovering for a while now, waiting for the secret signal, Kate resting her chin on her left hand, knew that the count was now favorable. He rejoined the table and immediately started betting $5,000 a hand. This wasn't ideal to do with just 2 people. It's a little easier to attract attention. The pit bosses are looking for players who go from betting low to betting high to distinguish card counters. Ideally, they would have had 3 or 4 people, so the big player would have looked like a totally random player just sitting down that always bets like that, no matter what table they go to. But this was their first run. They were pretty confident that they were going to get away with this, and just from that single session, they turned a profit of $30,000. One of the casino...
Yo, I am in the wrong business, bro.
The host noticed this, immediately approached them and said, "Hey, do you guys got plans for where you're staying tonight? Because we'd love to offer you one of our premium suites." See, big players in Vegas are treated like royalty. They want to keep them around at their casinos, especially if they win big, so they come back the next day and potentially lose it all. Semyon and Kate were over the moon. By the end of the weekend, they were up over $100,000.
Wow.
On their flight back, they couldn't believe that they had actually beat the casino. With all their cameras and security and infrastructure, a couple of kids half their age had made out like bandits, collected a ton of stuff in free comps. The casino was none the wiser. There's dozens and dozens of stories like this. For JP, he knew that it was the law of large numbers that would make this work because they had so many people doing it. Hundreds of hands a day, thousands of hands a weekend. But it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. Thanks to the expected mathematical variance, sometimes they lost and lost big despite having a good count. For Semyon, one night when the count was unusually high, he was betting 2 hands of $10,000 each. Still managed to lose a bunch of hands in a row. Within minutes, he was down $150,000, and worst of all,
I take it back.
He had run out of chips. Now, he had more cash in his pockets, but he could only buy in for $30,000 without showing ID. And of course, he was playing under a fake alias. He couldn't risk revealing his real name or he could get barred from the casino more easy, so he had to walk away from the table. Despite these sorts of losses, the math always worked out. By June 1st, 1993, the team was on fire with winnings totaling $439,000.
Oh my God.
The team's routine became fly in for Friday, gamble for a straight 48 hours, then Sunday night, party before catching a red-eye back to school for Monday. Then they'd hand off the winnings to whoever was responsible for collecting the cash. And in between these trips, they had all sorts of forms that they had.
How many of the students do you think snatched some of the money? They had to have.
Remember, Strategic Investments was truly set up like a real company. They had very thorough paperwork. Players would need to remember how many shoes they counted, what the conditions of the game were, how many players were at the table, and of of course, the money totals. All of this playing and betting data was later fed into a computer for analysis. This information was also used to determine how much they were paid. So they were paid for their playing time, but they also got a cut of the profits, which were totaled up every quarter. Finally, after over 10 years of adjustments in leadership and strategy, the MIT Blackjack team had hit its stride. Up to 30 players were playing in casinos all over the world every weekend. It got so crazy that to avoid suspicion, the players would always visit different casinos as much as possible, sometimes even flying to Europe or the Caribbean. And back at MIT, almost no one knew that these students were leading this double life. They had to keep it really tight. Some of their families didn't know, girlfriends didn't know, certainly other professors didn't know. They were the best students at MIT, but on the weekend, they were the top gamblers of the world. And because of the whole host system and how whales are treated at casinos, they had front row seats to all the big shows. They were staying in the best suites. Some of them would have swimming pools and jacuzzis in them. They were getting steak dinners at the best restaurants in the world. Crap, one of the students requested a private plane take him on a tour of the Grand Canyon, and another got his wedding fully paid for at Caesar Palace.
This is
By the
like
latter half of 1993, Strategic Investments was now just shy of $900,000 in profit. JP and the other co-founders weren't only counting their money, but they were proud to have put the entire team together. They were successful at last, but in the months ahead, as the team increased its winnings even more, it also increased something else: its profile. Casinos do not like losing money, so they go to great lengths to make sure that nobody is getting more than they should. Hundreds of cameras lining the gambling pit, tracking players' each and every move. Staff members are watching the high rollers like a hawk, and when the casino realizes that they're losing a lot but they're not sure how, they bring in the big guns, private investigators. Meet Andy Anderson. For years, the MIT players only knew him as the silver-haired man. He was a detective working for Griffin Investigations. Back in the 90s, they were the biggest name in private investigators specializing in the gambling industry. Every casino on the strip used them, and they would go out of their way to find people who were illegally cheating the casinos out of money. Usually they would catch people who were using sleight of hand to switch out dice during a game of craps, grease pens to mark cards, or people abusing computers hidden inside of their clothing. There's like a shoe computer, it was called, to track the count of cards. But the thing is, what the MIT kids were doing wasn't cheating or illegal. They were counting cards using their brain. They were just smart players, advantaged players. But legality didn't matter to casinos. Casinos are considered private businesses, so they can ban anyone they want for any reason. And with the help of Andy, they were hoping to figure out exactly who had been taking them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Andy's secret weapon was recognizing faces. He would go from casino to casino on the strip, find the big players, learn who they are, and then try to distinguish who they were working with to get the count. Once he saw the same faces in several places, he would dig into their personal details, like the addresses they were using to claim comps, then cross-reference them with others in the crew. Worse, their pictures and aliases were then published in something called the Griffin Book. This was a book that was periodically released to keep all casinos up to date on threats to their profits. Essentially, when someone is repeatedly caught for having an unfair advantage, their name and picture will be put in the Griffin Book. To make matters worse, Andy noticed that many of the addresses used to claim comps by these people were from Boston. But the biggest mistake, the team had written manuals on their strategy for reference. Andy eventually found one of these that a student mistakenly left behind. From all of this, he was able to eventually piece together that the largest card counting team the world had ever known had all come from MIT.
And one time later, we actually got a copy of the Griffin Book, and we are about 140 pages of the Griffin Book, which is much more than that. At one point, we pretty much took over their book, generated a lot of business for them. And one day we were flipping through the thing, and we saw a picture of Mike. I said, Mike, that's a really good picture of you. Like, it looks like you posed for it. And he's like, all right, come here, look at this. He looks and he's like, oh, that's my yearbook picture. So what Griffin did, they actually posed as MIT students, got an MIT yearbook and scanned in all the yearbook pictures of everyone on the team and everyone who went to MIT. It wasn't just the team members at one point. They actually scanned in every single MIT student into their database of casino undesirables.
So to counter this, the team starts getting even more outlandish with their disguises.
At one time, we had John dressed up as a woman. Another time, I think he was a woman and a nurse, and I was a guy in a wheelchair.
But it didn't matter. The team was still getting banned from casinos left and right. It got to the point where upon landing in the airport, they would be spotted and a fax would be sent out to all the casinos warning them that the team was in.
Oh my gosh, yo, the casino, y'all are making enough money, dude. Like, you can spring for one group of people.
Area. And it wasn't just Las Vegas. They were getting made around the world.
Simeon and I went on a tour of Europe at one point and showed up at the casino at Monte Carlo and only lasted for, what, an hour? About an hour. And I'm pulled away by, some very nice looking goons at the Monte Carlo casino who don't let me go back to the table and brought us behind a glass door, I think, into an office where they could send our pictures to the Griffin Detective Agency in Las Vegas to get us positively ID'd. All the time pretending that they did not know any English. And then searched our car, we're not sure for what, and drove us to the local jail where we ended up spending several hours. So I have a police record and officially am barred from ever re-entering the Principality of Monaco, as I understand it.
They stopped going to international casinos because of this. Since basically everyone on the team was either banned from multiple casinos on the Strip or plastered all over the Griffin book, it became a lot harder for the team to make money. Worse, they had also started hemorrhaging money, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, nearly half of everything they had made in just a few months thanks to a brutal losing streak that had kicked off in the fall of '93. While this was within the statistical expected variance, it still made JP extremely stressed out that they would lose everything they worked so hard for. It didn't help that the team was also starting to slip through the cracks. Players who were now much closer to management in terms of skill were getting increasingly fed up with how it was run. Since the players only got their salary and about 10% of the profits, they felt like they were doing all the heavy lifting while the big investors took home most of the cash. JP eventually told John Chang and Bill Kaplan that he wanted to be done, that it wasn't worth all the stress, that things would be different if they weren't losing so much money, but they were. They toyed with the idea of just letting JP drop out, having Semyon replace his role in leadership and continuing the team, but when Semyon decided not to take that position because of the growing dissatisfaction among team members, they decided it was time to close up shop. By December '93, Strategic Investments cashed everyone out, and that would be that, except Semyon had other ideas.
What?
After 2 years, Strategic Investments was no more, but Semyon Dukak wasn't done gambling just yet. He went on to form a new team, Amphibian Investments. Players would become investors. The operation expanded through the mid-90s, eventually employing over 60 players across 5 cities. Their total winnings, reportedly over $4 million.
Oh my god!
The end of Strategic Investments also gave rise to the Reptiles, another spin-off team, whose story was later told in the book Bringing Down the House. In total, these teams spun off from the MIT legacy were responsible for over $6 million in losses in casinos. But
fuck
like all great
casinos.
teams, their time was limited, and after a few years, it all came crashing down. Most of the students returning to their original fields that they were studying for at MIT. But the legend lived on. Bringing Down the House sparked heated debate over its accuracy from team members, but it captivated readers and later audiences with the film 21, which introduced a new generation to the world of card counting. And casinos responded. They shuffled more often, they added automatic shufflers, they changed their rules, but the damage was done. The story had spread, books were written, movies were made, icons were born. The MIT Blackjack team inspired a new wave of advantaged players determined to beat the system. The house today may be stronger, the odds tighter, but there's always new players stepping up to take their shot. Their stories, well, those are for another day, so make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, that was a really good video. I'm in the wrong business. Dude, imagine being one of those fucking students. That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. Like being one of those students, seeing that flyer and then making like, what, 60 grand while in college? Okay, I'm gonna end stream. We're gonna go live tomorrow. I'm gonna do a Yap stream on Discord tomorrow. So we're gonna have fun doing that. We're also gonna play a game that I thought of. It's in the notebook. I'm not gonna describe what it is yet. I'll explain next stream, but watch that stream because that one should be pretty good. But yeah, that was a good stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow.